Hello, hello, friends. Welcome in. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Welcome in, everybody. Sassy, hello. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Who else do we have here in the chat? We obviously have Tank. We'll get to him in a second. Austin, welcome in. How are you? That man Zam, hello, hello. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful day. True Will Tank, hello. How's it going? So welcome everybody to the Jet Wave, which is an interview show where I get to interview some of my favorite creators, mostly streamers at this point, but we'll expand a little bit. Today we are going to be interviewing a friend of yours and mine, TankMediaGames. You know him from his Twitch channel, whether he's playing a variety of games, to his YouTube channel where he's usually singing some kind of song. He has done quite a lot. He has multiple talents, and so we will be getting to those here shortly. Just as a heads up, a couple of things. One, this will be a little bit of a different stream than you're used to. I might not be as attentive to chat, but we still want you there because you will be a part of our Q&A. We've already taken a bunch of questions from earlier on the past couple of weeks, but if there is a question that you're like, man, I wish I knew, I wish I could have asked, a Nightbot will actually tell you. If you start your message with TankQ, Nightbot actually said it right there, but I'll type it in chat. If you start your message with TankQ and then whatever after that, same message, but just start it with that. I can find it later. You can also highlight your message. That also helps with channel points. But in the case you don't, you can do that, and that'll help me find your messages. But starting it that way, when we get to the Q&A, I'll be able to have that list. But we're going to start off with just kind of me asking Tank questions and us talking. And then we will move into a Q&A. And then after that, we will be getting some dubs, in Apex Legends. That is the hope and goal, that we will be getting some wins. So please stick around, talk, chat amongst yourselves, ask questions, and we'll be getting to those here shortly. But without further ado, allow me to bring in our guest for today, a friend of yours and mine. Wonderful streamer. I'm getting him hyped up. I can see him off to the side. Just getting ready. Are your friend and mine, Tank Media Games, and Tank? Welcome in.
Look at me. He's not lying. I'm wearing my Jet merch.
Full disclosure, did not tell Tank to wear my merch.
He did. It wasn't a tell so much as a command at gunpoint.
Untrue, my friend. Okay, let's start off just something simple. How are you? How's it going?
I'm okay today. I'm doing all right. I was up later last night than I normally am, which you could be said really of any time past like 9:30 to 10 p.m.
Are you a early sleeper?
I'm Ben Franklin, baby. I'm early to bed and early to rise. I'm hopefully healthy and somewhat wise, but the wealthy part is coming.
Did you ever watch Animaniacs?
I'm sure I've seen some of it, but I don't think I'm as big a fan maybe as yourself.
Fair. There was so at the end of some episodes, they would do something called the Wheel of Morality, which is where they would spin a wheel just because there was no lesson to learn, and so they needed to come up with something, and so they would spin a wheel, and then whatever it was the lesson for that day. And one of them I still remember, and I remember laughing a ton as a kid when I first heard this, but they had one that was they spin the wheel. They say, "Wheel of morality, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the lesson that we should learn." And the moral of today's story is, early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy but socially dead. And I think maybe, now that I think about it, I accidentally maybe made that a life rule. Um, and
So, to go against it.
no, I stay up way too late. Uh,
Right, so you're going against that life rule, right?
oh,
You're going to bed late to remain socially alive.
true. Yes,
You
that is
reject
accurate.
Animaniac's wisdom.
I was heavily impressioned on by the Animaniacs, and it was unexpected. But I'm now realizing this actually, that maybe I've taken too much from some cartoons.
I think you're doing just fine. I personally, whatever made you the way you are today, we're grateful for that.
Thanks. I appreciate that. So Tank, one, thanks for being here on the Jetwave. I'm very grateful. We have gotten to know each other mostly through Apex. We actually,
Yeah.
I believe Talinus had maybe raided you a long time ago. I remember following you, and I recall that because I was playing Apex just on my own, I recall seeing on the sidebar one day that TankMediaGames was playing Apex, and I think I was like, I remember popping to his chat before, but like not really like super participating. Let me just see how he's doing. And I believe in that stream you had said something about how playing with randoms is not super enjoyable, or something to that effect. And so I remember I typed in chat and I was like, "Hey," I was like, "Hi, I don't know if you know me, but I've popped in here before. I think Talinus, blah blah blah. But I also play Apex. So if you need somebody, let me know." And I think that was when it truly began. It's when it all started.
Yeah. You caught me at a low moment, and I broke my one rule, which I break frequently, which is to pull people from chat to play video games.
No, well, and to be fair, that's a pretty safe rule, especially with randoms. I kind of snuck in when your guard was low, but to be fair,
Yeah.
that's how I make most of my friendships. So,
Of course. Wait till somebody's at a really low point until they'll take anything,
yeah,
right?
they'll be friends with anybody.
You run in there. Smart move.
I know that's but so that's how we kind of got connected. Eventually, we had been playing Apex on your early streams. Super hardcore. We were playing a lot of Apex.
Oh yeah.
In our heyday. But since then, we've become friends even apart from that, and chat and stuff, and it's just great. I really enjoy it, so I'm glad that you're here. I think you have a lot that people will be able to learn from your experiences and share. So I'm glad that you're here.
Well, see, I'm super grateful to be here. Jet and I had a little test stream, well, not stream, but a little test, make sure everything looked fine last night, and we chatted, and I explained then. I'll explain again now. I ditto everything. Super grateful for this friendship, as well as I'm super grateful to be considered worthy of being on the Jetwave. Like I said in the chat moments ago, probably the most beautiful place I've ever spoken is out here floating on the jet waves. So I am very, very grateful to be here for sure.
You are more than welcome, King. So pick up that crown, and and yes. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into some of the questions that I have before we get into everyone's Q&As. Tank, take us to the beginning. Where are you from? What kind of got you started in, well, where are you from? And also,
Okay.
Which of your interests came first? Because you have a lot of interests. You are very musically talented. You're also, a nerd. We'll say that's a talent. Can we say that's a talent? I think so. Video gaming talent.
When you're as nerdy as me, it's a talent.
You're an entertainer. So which of those started like popping up first when you were growing up?
I think, honestly, based on probably home movies, I would imagine the spirit and passion I have for wanting to make people giggle preceded everything else.
Mm.
I am from rural South Carolina in the United States. Uh, Middle of nowhere. Grew up way out in the country. Went to a small. The same True Will Tank was in here. I was talking with Will Tank yesterday, and he's like, "I'm gonna come into Jet Stream, and I'm gonna say like, who the heck is this Tank Media Games?" And I was like, "If you say it too strong, you might get banned. You know, you
No.
might not be a familiar name. You know, you
No, we
don't
know Will Tank. We know Will Tank.
yeah, don't do me like that." But anyway, mentioned Will Tank is he and I went to the same rural South Carolina school. So I'm a country boy at heart.
Couldn't tell
But
by
I
your
think
accent or anything.
are you being sarcastic?
I am. There's a little bit of a twang. I will say it's not as
Yeah.
strong as some people's, but you can tell. I think it's.
I put in a lot of work.
Yeah.
It comes through if I stop paying attention. It comes through any I sound.
Mm.
If that happens too fast, I say I like this. So yeah,
Love it.
I can definitely be pinpointed. But I work on it because like here, it's not it's not an endearing thing to have a Southern accent in America. But I've heard people from other places in the world, not everybody, but other places in the world, some people like, oh, a Southern accent is like, that's attractive or whatever. And I'm like, I assume you're lying. But I am from the South. And I think based on home movies and things that like my mom, my parents have told me, and I've always been a bit of a cut up. I can remember specifically, I told this story on stream a few weeks ago about a home movie that my mom took after like my 4th birthday party, where my dad dressed up as Darth Vader and delivered a Winnie the Pooh VHS tape to me as a present. I don't know who thought that through, but like maybe you could have brought something more Star Wars.
The copyrights of that, it's just it's very muddled. But I guess at this point mostly owned by Disney now, so I think it's all in house.
Maybe they were already thinking. They already had it dialed in. But anyway, there's a home movie of them asking what I thought about the birthday party, and the whole time I'm goofing off, and like I can see it in myself when we watch it every couple years. My mom has to break it out and watch it, and I can see in myself like every time I'm about to like say something goofy, like I want that laugh. Every time like my mom laughs behind the camera, I'm like this. I can see it in my eyes, like the twinkle that's there. And that's just kind of how I've always been. I've been described as a bit of a clown in school for a while, but I think the passion for entertaining people came before my love of video games, but not too much before, because I think by 1st grade I was very into games because I was the only child for a while, and you live out in the country, and if you want to do the whole family explanation, we can do that.
Sure.
But you live out in the country. We're not in the neighborhood. I can't go to a friend's house or whatever. So most of my entertainment was video games and action figures and things. So video games were my company for a long time. So yeah, I think my answer to your question would be probably passionate about making people giggle before games, but not by much.
Yeah. So, okay, question for those that maybe are outside of the U.S. or aren't familiar with as like rural as places. Like, how far away was then like your nearest neighbor where you were from then? Were you still like
my nearest neighbor? So I grew up on some land that my grandparents owned, and my mom and dad built a house on, and they dug a pond and stuff. So I grew up on like 400 acres of land that was ours.
That's awesome.
That we could do it's great. Still is. It's lovely. And like neighbor that I knew, like neighbor that I would, I didn't have any neighbors that I knew that I would go see. There were no kids who lived around that I knew of. So my friends I only made from school, and most of my friends lived in the nearest town where my school was, and that was St. Matthews, and that was like 25 minutes from my house. So if I was hanging out with my friends and I wasn't in school, it was like a Friday night, come spend the night at the house kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, they're like neighbors. Having neighbors was. I used to think about people on TV, and I'd see like kids leave their house and ride their bike to a neighbor's house, and I'd be like, I want that. So I
Oh,
didn't. I didn't look around at paradise where I was living.
right.
I could do whatever I want,
True.
But I looked at TV. I was like, I just want a neighbor. I want my best friend to live next to me.
Oh.
So
That's well, but you see, that's
no
the
neighbors.
perfect recipe to start gaming. This is
Yeah.
that is the perfect recipe for that. So, what were your first games then? What did you get started on? How did that happen?
I want to believe that my dad bought a Super Nintendo for himself,
Mm,
or whatever, or just an NES, whatever Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt was on, because those were the only two games that we had on that system.
yeah,
So I imagine he bought that for himself, but I remember playing a lot of the first level of Mario,
nice.
first two levels of Mario. I remember playing a lot of Duck Hunt. The Duck Hunt dog and Duck Hunt sound effects are in my head. So I played those. They were at the house, so I played those a lot. But it probably wasn't until I think maybe in the first grade I can remember, and I'll have to go. This is another one of those things where I need to ask my mom or my grandmother,
Mm.
because you know how you make your own memories
Yeah,
sometimes when you're
totally.
young. But I have memories of my granddad taking me one day and buying me a Nintendo 64.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if that happened. I have to imagine he saw it on a commercial and he was like, these children are having so much fun with this thing on the commercial. I'm going to buy this for my grandson.
Nice.
He needs to have fun." Um
He has no neighbors
I
around him. He
remember
needs something.
yeah, kid's got no friends, nowhere to go. But I remember my green see-through plastic Nintendo 64. Played a lot of Smash Bros. Played the Mario Kart. Played Mario 64. I can remember after a soccer game, my dad gave me Star Fox 64, which I love dearly. So I'd say probably Nintendo 64 is where it really started.
Nice. That's awesome. I imagine I imagine you in the video game store or whatever it was. Probably at that point, video game stores weren't a thing. Uh, but I'm
No.
imagining a very I'm sure you've seen the Nintendo 64. That is the two kids. I'm assuming that's a lot what it was like.
I imagine. I imagine it was a Toys R Us trip, which was a hike for 50,
I bet.
45, 50 minutes for us to get to the nearest Toys R Us.
Yeah.
I imagine it was quite a hike. And my grandpa was known for doing stuff like that, just like randomly getting an idea in his head, like, all right, let's go load up and buy a Transformer or something. You look bored. Let's go fix it, I guess.
That's awesome.
It wasn't like an everyday thing. I know I've just already said that I grew up on a ton of land and my granddad just up and bought me a Nintendo 64. I don't want you to think I grew up like insanely privileged, like I was, on my grand estate, on my throne of
You
Nintendo
forgot to
64
mention
games.
that your land was just full of gold. You forgot to mention
Yeah.
that. It was 400 acres of just pure gold.
You could see the oil from the lake. You could just see through the ground to all the oil underneath.
That makes sense. So you started off really, going for the laugh. You started noticing people giggling or laughing. How did that turn from that point to where did that progress to? Did you try looking for different ways to entertain people, or was it just more of like a more of a social thing? What happened?
I think as a kid it was class clownery until puberty, where a lot of times people either get really confident or really not confident.
Mm.
And I went the not confident route. So I was like, I think I felt like I was the life of the class up until that, fourth, fifth, sixth grade time where everybody begins to change. And then I remember kind of returning to my shell a little bit and hanging out with just my own friends. Until eventually, like, something clicked in about the 10th grade. I can remember specifically a joke that wasn't even very good. I could tell you the exact context of this joke. I could
Tell
retell
us.
it
Tell us.
in a
Give
history
us.
class.
Take us back.
Okay, so I'm in the 10th grade. It's like one of the first days of the 10th grade. For some reason, I guess I'm driving a car now. Maybe I'm more confident. But up until this point, yeah, just no formal try to entertain anybody or anything like that.
Mm.
It's the 10th grade, and um, it's one of the first days, and I think our teacher is explaining for some reason I've got in my head, like, I think even in my head I'm like, it's now or never. I I've got to do something. This class has 30 people in it. I refuse to come out of this as like the nerdy to himself kid that only interacts with his small group of friends.
Your
Like
time to shine.
I must do something. I must become someone. And I can remember I could tell you the name of the teacher, but I won't. But it was 20th century history,
Okay.
and she was explaining something about, this is what the things we're going to learn. This might have been world history actually or something. These are the things we're going to learn. We're going to go all the way from back in this point in time all the
Mm.
way forward. And some kid also was feeling probably the same way as me. And I think he raised his hand and he was like, "Miss So and So, are we going to learn where condoms come from?" Or like what the history, like I assume he was like, I'm going to be the edgy kid.
Yeah, I'm the
Like
edgy
that, like
kid, right?
yeah, I've also got to make a name for myself. And she said something. She started to explain, like, well, actually, back in the day, sheep's bladders and all these different things,
Yeah.
contraception or whatever. But we'll learn all kinds of stuff like that. And I remember blurting out for some reason. Again, I'm building this up like it's a good joke. It's not.
I'm ready. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it.
I blurt out. All I do is blurt out the phrase, "It's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it." And the class erupted in laughter, and I became who was meant to be in that moment.
That was.
For so,
I'm imagining a Harry Potter at the wand shop. Can't remember what it was called, but Harry Potter at the wand shop. The light, the warm light glow from the
yeah,
ceiling just pouring down on you as you find your place in the world. Entertaining.
it I wouldn't remember it like that if it wasn't some sort of formative moment. But it was like I'm nourished. Like I get physically nourished by your laughter. And I'm like, well, now my whole high school career is reproducing this moment in whatever way possible. But also, I was raised by very, kind people. My mother and father both like raised me to be a good kid, not disruptive,
Mm,
not like the class clownery was not like bothersome. I wasn't going to
right.
get sent to the principal's office. Just whenever comedy was available,
You
that's what I
struck.
what I wanted to do is make I wanted to strike whenever I could strike.
Yeah.
And that became my goal for all of high school. Um and and really high school too is where making things that make people laugh
Mm.
is where that was born. And that's another thing that involves Will Tank, and I can tell you that story if you'd like.
Do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Sometimes I worry I'm talking. I don't want to talk
This
too much.
is about you, Tank.
Okay. All right.
This is we're all here for you. So
Okay. Well, thank you so much. So some people, my dog is also here for me. I might have to go console her and fluff her blanket or something. She's high maintenance.
Oh, it's okay. You can also
Yeah. Are
bring her
you
on. You can also
crazy?
show her off if you'd like.
Here, let me go fluff her blanket up so she'll leave me alone. I'll give everybody on the jet. Can I give everybody on the jetwave a quick taste of Mia, real
Yeah,
quick?
absolutely. Please do.
Okay, I'll give everybody a quick taste. Taste. Hey.
Look at me. Look at that doggo.
She barking. I don't know what her problem is.
There we go.
All
Love
right, sorry
Mia.
about that. Hopefully,
A super pupper indeed. That is just adorable.
super pupper. Perfect. Ooh, sorry. Sometimes she gets a little high maintenance. Um,
Honestly, same.
yeah. So to continue my tale, um, high school was another moment where I began to want to make things that made people laugh. Um, I met a new buddy who I would end up going to college with and making a YouTube channel with
Mm,
later on. But senior year of high school, our teacher offered us the option to we were learning about Beowulf, the poem,
nice.
epic poem, maybe the first epic poem. We were learning about that. I was super interested in it, and our teacher said, "All right, you have three options for a project on this poem. Write a paper. Who wants to do that? Make a
Lame.
poster. Yeah, lame. Make a poster board. Gather a group. Make a poster board. Deliver a project in front of the room
Mm.
about it. Also lame. Poster board. This is
Come,
2011 now.
come on.
This is the future.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Or, and at this point, we're like, what is that third option? Or you can make a video, you kind of recounting the plot of
Ooh.
Beowulf, showing that you a mastery of the knowledge of what happened, and make a video. And we, for some reason, I was like, that's got to be easier than a paper or a dumb poster board.
Sure.
So luckily, I had aligned myself with the other funny people in class, and we were all very close friends.
An
And we were
alliance
like,
was
we can do that.
formed amongst
Yeah,
the funny ones.
of course. And we all looked at each other like, obviously, we're making a video. And I had just gotten a camera. It was like do you remember
Ooh.
those like cameras that probably looked about the shape of a cell phone?
Oh, was it a
They were like,
flip? Or
yeah, it wasn't that,
oh, okay.
but it was like that.
Yes.
And it was an underwater kind
Ooh.
of camera. This dog, dude. This dog she's high
Actually, I
maintenance.
couldn't
I'm so
hear
sorry.
anything, so I think you're fine.
Okay, I'll talk through it. They say let the baby cry sometimes. I don't know what that method is. But we were offered the opportunity. I had this camera that
Mhm.
was waterproof,
Okay.
and like shockproof, and we were like, I have a camera. Let's go make a video. So we did a 10-minute retelling of the story of Beowulf, and my teacher couldn't watch the whole thing because she was covering her face laughing so hard at it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we got 100 on the project, and we I was like, I want to do more of this.
Yeah.
I want to do this over and over and over again. But unfortunately, we only got one more project like that throughout the year, which was fine. That one was very funny too. It didn't come close to Beowulf,
Right.
you
It's
know.
hard. The
So
sequel is always hard to follow up, than from the
yeah,
original. So.
it is. It's hard to follow up. But after that, Will Tank and I made some videos that were funny, but obviously, none of them, nothing I've ever done has blown up, at that point. But it still was a thing where I was like, I really enjoy making a thing, putting something together, and then giving
Mm,
it to someone and hoping that they laugh at it.
mm.
And uh, and I think that's where the passion was born, and it would wane and increase throughout my years, until now where it's at like a critical mass where if I can't successfully make people laugh now, I implode.
As
Or will implode one day.
as with all passions, yeah, that makes sense. That checks out. So that I mean, well, and what's interesting is that is a great. I mean, what you're kind of describing and what you were feeling at that time is pretty perfect for then the moving into like the YouTube sphere and being able to produce videos and then and publish them. But before we get to that, so when did you start? Because okay, question was the Beowulf video. Was it a song? When did
No, it
singing
wasn't a
come
song.
in into your life and like making songs and all of that? Because whether it's whether it's on your YouTube channel, well, whether you're singing about samurai booty, or whether you are just making up songs on stream, I'm always impressed. Sometimes we would be playing Apex, somebody would say something in chat or a joke would come up, and then you would immediately start thinking of lines to a song and kind of
Yeah.
start going. So I'm really curious where that came from and how. Why are you so good at that?
I have no idea.
Great.
I cannot
Teach
answer
me
your
your
question.
secrets, Tang.
I, gosh, the first parody I wrote was a parody of Adele's "Hello." The first one I ever wrote and produced. Also, I'm very much imposter syndrome-y.
Mm,
When I start using a word like produced, I immediately feel like there's someone over my shoulder being
no.
like, you're not allowed to use that word. But I did. We wrote it and we made it. And it it didn't do great on YouTube, but the premise was hello, the song is "Hello from the Other Side" or whatever. For some reason I got the idea of drive-through speakers and how they're always hard to understand. And the idea of like
That is
like a drive-through worker and a drive-through patron being unable to communicate. and the premise still does make me laugh
it's
because
so
I mean,
good.
like, because they both want to know what the other one's saying. But the premise is like the driver in the car is singing "Hello" from the outside.
Mm.
I'm outside the restaurant. "Hello, I want to communicate with you." And so then it's got the typical like, you think you know what the song's about, and you think that the guy inside the restaurant's, he's just a fast food worker. He doesn't care, but he cares so much. And so the next chorus is sung by the fast food worker who I play.
Wow.
And so I'm also emotionally calling to the person from inside. And that was the first one we did, and that was
That is
in
amazing,
college
Tank.
at some point. It was not, I mean, the idea is good. The idea is definitely good. Execution wise, it could be better.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a technically proficient singer. Like I'm not a great. I really just like throwing the words together and giving it a melody. I'm not like gonna. I'm not Adele. I don't know why I chose Adele to make a parody of.
Easy singer
Easy.
parody.
Um, so we did that one. I don't think we did another parody for a while. Uh,
maybe it's time for a like a director's cut of that song.
yeah, I could go pull it. I mean, I could pull it up and give it to you guys to everyone. Um, I want to do more, but it comes in spurts. Like
Mm,
unless it's like a 5-line thing that we do on stream, there, and also that's hard work. Like it's a lot harder to do than anything else that I do.
mm,
And sometimes like with Samurai Booty and stuff, I've done like 5 parodies with Tank Media Games, and you don't always want to judge it by like how many times people see it, but sometimes when I look at it, I'm like, man, that was a lot of effort, and I there I can't keep pushing it on people without being annoying.
fair.
I can't like post it every week like, please go watch this video, please go watch this video. So I think part of me is kind of waiting until like there's a really solid foundation of people who are always ready for that parody.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm saving my juices, but I can't tell you where that came from.
Mm,
I just think I've
a natural
always
talent.
enjoyed singing in the car. I can remember back to when Toby Keith came out with his song courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue after 9/11.
Yes.
I love that song. And I can remember riding in the car and that song playing, and I can remember a specific thought, and that thought is the following. If there was a Toby Keith fan club and everyone got to sing a song, this is the one I would sing. Isn't that a stupid kid thing to think?
No, I honestly though I think of the exact same thing even presently. So I don't
Yeah,
think. I mean, I would never. I don't think I could ever, and I would never want to subject the artist to hearing me sing their song back to them. I feel like
oh
that
yeah,
would be incredibly unnerving for them. Especially as I'm not a great singer, but also I think the amount of passion and fervor that I would have behind it and how bad I was would be uncomfortable to them. But I
yeah,
have many a time thought if someone were like, Jet, there's a talent show, you're in it, you're going on, we have every song listed in the world.
yeah.
Which ones would you say? Like, what do you want queued up for us? There will be times where I'm like, I think I would sing this song. I think I would do this if I was forced to perform in front of people.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't
I think
think
it's natural,
it's
right?
fun. It's a
It's
fun
natural.
little thing, and you know.
I just don't know why. It honestly makes more sense as an adult, but I don't know why as like an 8-year-old or however old I
Fair,
was.
yeah.
I guess I was probably like 6 or 7. Thinking like I in my head I can picture the memory. Like I
Yeah.
can picture like I'm assuming that I'm standing on a wooden podium with a microphone at the Toby Keith fan club, and then courtesy of the red, white, and blue comes on, and I'm gonna sing that.
I love that.
Um, but I did. I thought that. I don't know why. I've always enjoyed just. If any of you in chat, in my chat or in Jet's chat, I'm not streaming right now. I mean, if in our communities, if any of you were able to wake up at my house in the morning at any given time
Oh gosh.
and hear how much I sing to my dogs
Mm.
for just like making up like stupid little songs like "There's my little Mia sitting on the bed," you know, like it's just like every, all day, every day is
Amazing.
me doing that stupid stuff. I don't know why I do it. I maybe biologically I just have a really intense appreciation for rhyme.
Mm.
I think that might be it.
It just
I don't know.
yeah, that's amazing though. It's a talent. I'm not I feel like that is a skill that I know I'm not great at. I know a lot of people that doesn't come naturally to them. So that's why it's something that stands out for sure.
Well, thank you.
So uh before how did okay, tell us the history a bit of Tank Media Games because it wasn't just streaming. That wasn't your name when like you just started Twitch. So what was that? Give us the history of that.
Okay. We go back to college.
Mm.
Uh, my one of my best friends, best man at my wedding. His name's Brandon. We met kind of back when I was in the 10th grade. We met through a youth group, and we have been absolute brothers ever since. To the point where we were like, well, let's just go to the same school. We both wanted to go to the same school.
Yeah.
We were planning to, and he was like, "Well, I'll just take a year off so we can both be freshmen at the same time. Like, I'll just work for a year."
Oh, that's
I was like,
awesome.
"What?" Yeah, he was like, "Well, I'm good. Like, you know, I have this job that I'm working at over the summer. I can stick around at it for a while, and we'll just be freshmen together." So we went in as freshmen together, and it's super cool. But by the end of our throughout college, we made a few videos together. But by the end of our senior year of college, which is my ultimate, if there's a question planned for later where you ask what is the thing you regret most in your life, I'll answer it now, and that is not doubling down on entertainment at the beginning of college.
Mm.
Instead of waiting until like the last semester
Mm.
to really focus on that. But anyway, we were living in the same apartment senior year, and I've always liked the idea of having a podcast, just like every person who thinks they're funny does. That you can tell by how many podcasts there are.
Who would do that?
Exactly. You can tell
Shut down the
that
stream.
you can tell that
Shut down the
you can
stream.
if you just go look around at how many people who look like me or Jet, or it really just like, you know, if you got glasses and a beard, you probably think that you should have a podcast.
You have
and
a mic.
some of us are right. Jet's right. He should.
Oh my gosh. Well,
That's
thank
why
you.
we're here. Again. No, I'm gonna save my talk up jet stuff for later, but I am gonna do it.
All right.
Anyway, we just thought I've always liked the idea of having a podcast. We both thought we're very funny. Our conversations are a lot of fun.
Mm.
So why don't we start a podcast? And then it comes down to, well, what do we name it? And throughout high school and college, my house was always the house where all of our friends gathered. Even though it was way out in the boondocks,
Yeah.
you know, that all of our friends kind of lived. You know, Brandon lived like 20 minutes this way, and our other buddies lived 20 minutes that way. So my house was a good place to convene. We had a basement area where nobody else, you know, we had a TV and a couch, so we all just hang out down there all the time and goof off. So at my mom's house, we had a dog ever since I was in like the 8th grade, and his name was Tank. English Bulldog, just like Sweet Mia that you saw. Except when I say he's the most beautiful English Bulldog that you will have ever seen in your life, I'm correct, and you are wrong if you think I'm not. To anyone listening.
You were wrong. Whatever
No,
you're
I'm
imagining,
joking.
it's not good enough.
Yeah.
It's not good enough.
I'm just joking. He was just he was so large, but so proportional. He was just an exemplary English Bulldog. And, of course, what do you do with dogs? At least what do I do with dogs, but give them a personality, you know, a human personality.
Right.
So anytime the friends are over, we're all talking in Tank's voice. All of us know the same Tank voice. You know, if anybody else who's outside the group is like, I bet Tank is thinking this right now, and they do his voice, we all be like, that's not how he sounds. You know? But, you know, he had a in our imagination, he had a very wild life. He was a gambler. He was an adventurer. He did all these funny things. He was hilarious to talk to.
Yeah.
And so Tank really brought us all together and helped us flex our funny bones. And so we thought it would only be natural to name whatever enterprise we do after Tank, the dog, because he has brought us together in such a way. So we were like, why don't we'll put Tank in there, and anything I start, I'm always willing to branch out from it. And podcast is media. We also make videos. Let's call it Tank Media Podcast. So essentially, if anything ever were to work out, great. Cut off the podcast. The company's called Tank Media. There are 20 things underneath it. That was my thinking.
That's
right?
very enterprising for, I mean, a high schoolish age. You already had branding down pretty good, which is crazy.
But by halfway through college, I mean, I was on the entrepreneurial track in my business administration degree. So, you know, I was trying to think. I'm always thinking about monetizing, baby. This is America, capitalism. Monetize my dog.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, that's why we named it Tank Media Podcast. And we did the podcast for a while. Of course, why would anybody listen to us? How do you advertise a podcast? We don't know, et cetera, et cetera. Podcast did not succeed. As, you know, it makes sense, right? Not every pair of dudes who wants to be funny and talk to each other without any prior attention on them, you're going to have a successful podcast. Which is, again, why this type of thing is smarter than just, you know, waking up one day and being like, I think the world needs to hear what I have to say.
I'm going to www.podcast.com and I'm uploading me talking and everyone's going to listen. This is my platform.
Yep.
Yes.
We thought, but of course it didn't work out. And then we started making some videos. The first, we had an idea. Goodness, oh gosh, this is our first video idea that kicked it off. Christmas of 2015. It was, I don't know if any of you remember the name. Maybe you don't. You might not run in the same internet circles as I did at 2015. But there was a guy named Josh Feuerstein. He was a pastor who was in the limelight for getting very upset when Starbucks removed their Christmas imagery from their cup and replaced it. Their Christian Christmas imagery from their cups and replaced it with just run-of-the-mill regular old Christmas imagery. And he was very upset about that. And we thought that was hilarious. What an idiot. You know, like we thought that was so funny. So we talked to one of our friends at school who had a Starbucks apron, and or maybe it was just a green apron,
Mm.
but we filmed a video where Brandon was he was a Starbucks employee, and I don't remember the full premise, but the premise was corporate was calling him about this issue, and he was like in a broom closet
Love
talking
it.
to corporate about this issue, and I really don't remember any of the jokes in it. It probably wasn't even very good, but we thought it was hilarious.
That's all that matters.
Yep, that's all that matters. Uh, and we that kickstarted us. We were like, hey, you know what? Why don't we do this every week? Why don't we make a video every week and we'll put one out. We'll put it alongside the podcast, and we'll have a podcast coming out every week. We'll have a little short skit video coming out every week, and we're gonna do that. And that's when the passion for like this is what I love to do.
Mm.
I'm an entrepreneurship emphasized business major. I would love to have my own business. I'm passionate about entertainment. I've seen things on the internet, like especially because me and my best friend. I saw Rhett and Link on the internet. I was like, oh, Rhett and Link, they're great. I love what they've got going on.
For sure.
There's no reason that we can't also do something similar and just have like a 2-man comedy duo making little skits and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that's what we wanted to do. And so we hit the ground hard and we made a weekly video from Christmas of 2015, till the pandemic started.
Oh, wow.
And we probably the podcast fell off kind of soon after the videos started up. But we made a weekly video on our YouTube channel called Tank Media Network, which became our flagship enterprise. So yeah, we did videos for a long time. Not all of them were good. He and I were talking about it the other day. And we've both kind of diverged a little bit to go do our own things. Not as like a split up, but the pandemic happened.
Sure. Yeah.
I left Charleston where we went to school, and he stayed living down there with his fiance and now wife. And so there was a point where he would come to my house every weekend, and we would try to film stuff, and we would try to make things. And we were getting things done a lot, and then eventually it became a lot of. We had a lot of friends still in Charleston. They would be our actors, including Brandon. He would bring me the footage, tell me about the idea and the script. I'd edit it, stuff like that. Or I'd play a part and insert it into the video or what have you. And it became very difficult. It stopped being the kind of the spirit of what we wanted it to be.
Sure.
And so it is a little bit on a hiatus, but not fully dead. I still, would love to make things with Brandon. Still, of course, he's still one of, if not my best buddy.
Has he ever been on the stream?
No, that's one thing. We do not share at all any interest in video games.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting.
He does not care about games at all. Not really. He loves NASCAR. And again, I could spend the next couple days talking about, Brandon and myself and the way that we're similar, the ways that we're different, things that he likes.
Yeah.
I don't want you to assume anything about him because he loves NASCAR,
Right.
because he's a very millennial NASCAR lover.
Okay.
But he knows everything there is to know about the sport, and so he's got like a NASCAR page with like 10,000 followers or more on it on Instagram. He's got a YouTube channel about NASCAR and things like that. And we still do things together, but I'm not sure what the question was about Brandon.
Oh,
but
I just
could
asked
talk
if
about him
he's
for a
ever
long
been
time.
on stream or anything, but he doesn't.
Oh no,
not a
not
big
yet,
gamer.
not yet. He is not a big gamer. So as far as stuff we would do on stream together, I'm not really sure.
Get him.
And also he just he's not active on a Discord or anything like that.
Yeah.
So pulling him in would be difficult. But
Just
one day
trick him into playing Mario Kart 8 and saying that there's this new NASCAR game. It's NASCAR for kids.
And we play the game of how long until he realizes that's Mario and not Dale Earnhardt Jr.
It's a me, Dale.
We played games together. One time in our apartment, we played, if you remember, Octodad.
Yeah.
We played Octodad together.
Oh, that's great.
But our gaming relationship was very much like I would be playing games and he'd be on his laptop, so he would keep track of me playing games, but
Right.
never really play them myself.
No, that's fair.
But anyway, yeah, we made Tank Media Network, and that turned into 2017, right before I got married. I talked to Brandon, and I was like, hey, I play a lot of video games. I've been watching a lot of video game playthroughs on YouTube. I want to make some myself. Do you care if I upload one or two of those a week to the YouTube channel? And he's like, no, of course not. Go for it. And then I made two videos, uploaded them, and I was like, this is going to clutter up our YouTube channel. And two videos a week is nothing. There's like, I have more time to make more than this, and two videos a week isn't going to do anything.
Yeah.
Um, so I was like, why don't I just make a branch of our enterprise, and we'll call it Tank Media Games. And so then for 2 years, up until 2019, I made two 20-minute gameplay videos every day for 2 years.
Dang. And those were being
Yeah.
uploaded to your YouTube channel.
Yeah, to Tank Media Games. That's why if you go check Tank Media Games on YouTube, there's like 1,500 videos.
Nice. There's plenty of tank content out there.
There's a lot.
So when did you go from uploading to YouTube to then when did the inkling of Twitch and streaming come about?
Well, the inkling of Twitch was pushed down to streaming because if you remember back to the beginning of our conversation, I grew up in a very rural area on much land. If you would take one guess as to what does not occur naturally on large plots of land in rural South Carolina, it would be internet.
Yes.
It does not occur naturally there.
Sure.
So we didn't get 6 meg download speed DSL internet until in the middle of my college career. So like 2014. So never had the opportunity to do streaming or anything. So we did the YouTube, but I wasn't really interested in streaming at that point. It wasn't until I was working at my job, had gotten married, and I was at work, and I was kind of I used to watch Rhett and Link like every single day. And for some reason I got kind of bored with them a little bit, and I was looking around for other stuff, and I saw, there are people playing video games live on YouTube. So I started watching a YouTube streamer. I think his name was Stat. 5TAT.
Okay.
He had a really cool beard silhouette logo. He was one of the guys, if anybody remembers Epic Mealtime
Yeah.
on YouTube. He was one of the guys who created Epic Mealtime.
Gotcha.
Unfortunately, I think he ended up having to sue them because they stole some ideas from him or whatever. I don't know. But I was really into Battlefield at the time, and I watched him stream Battlefield a lot. And that's when I noticed, so you're just doing it live. You don't have to edit it. You don't have to pre-produce it. You don't have to render it. You don't have to do any of that crap. You just do it live. Boy, I wish I could do that. And then I was talking to my brother one day, and he was like, hey, I know you have internet problems. I have this very legal way to get an AT&T hotspot that doesn't have any data throttling.
Wow.
So maybe you could use this to stream. And I was like, that sounds illegal. And he was like, well, it's not illegal, but it's not legal.
Wink.
And you'd be paying for it. So essentially, I was paying through PayPal $50 a month to a guy I'd never met, didn't know his name. And as long as I paid him $50 a month, my hotspot never ran out of juice.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's how I streamed. That's how I streamed for from 2019 until I moved to this house.
Nice.
On a hotspot that I hope none of you. No, you know what? No, AT&T, you deserved it. Whatever you get, you deserve AT&T.
Any AT&T reps in the chat?
Yeah. I'd love to talk.
So that is a very interesting progression coming from YouTube and then watching people on YouTube to then deciding that you wanted to go into that. Did you have I mean, I guess you already had a bunch of film equipment and that kind of stuff. Did you have what you needed besides the Wi-Fi? Were you pretty like set to go when you started, or
Yeah, a bunch of film equipment would be strong wording. That's
right?
another reason that unfortunately our videos, that's one of our claims to fame a lot of times is that when people say like, "Oh man, that video looked like it," how did you do that? And it was like, well, uh, we spent $0 except for a camera. With a lot of stuff early on, it was like, it's almost Christmas time.
Mm,
Mom says, "Hey, what would you like for Christmas?" And I was like,
mm,
"Hey, maybe instead of like the gift cards and things you get, I would really love this DSLR camera.
mm.
It would be a very cool thing that would help me chase my dreams." And she'd be like, "Oh well, yeah, we can try to make that happen or whatever." Or like she and my dad would get together. So I had a camera. Really, the most equipment we had was a DSLR camera and a shotgun mic that I bought off of
All you
Amazon.
need.
But yeah, other than that, I did start to get into PC gaming a little bit before the streaming because I bought a PC after I worked a job at a financial advising job or internship over a summer,
Mm.
and I was like, "Oh, The Witcher 3 looks cool. People play games on PC. I like PC. I'll buy a PC." And so I had the PC ready, bought a webcam, and that was pretty much for the YouTube. So yeah, other than the Wi-Fi by streaming time, I was technologically, I thought ready to go.
Nice. And you actually brought something up that I meant to ask before, but during these past years, I mean, of making content, even when you were younger and trying to make people laugh and all that stuff, entertaining people, what were your like family's reaction to that? Were they very like supportive of you making all these videos, or were they just sort of like it's a hobby, he'll kind of grow out of it, or was it like when did they realize this was something you were serious about, and what were their reactions, etc.?
Yeah, I never got any negative comments about it. Luckily, my dad is also a clown,
Mm,
which is fortunate for me, and I think that's where I get it from.
mm,
My mom is the sweetest woman who's ever walked the earth, and I love her to death. But I didn't get my sense of humor from her. Um, my dad is definitely the goof of the two of them, and everybody says I look just like him,
mm,
I act just like him. I'm very proud. I'm very proud to be his kid for many reasons, and
mm,
he's another person. Both of them are people that I could talk about for days. I'm very very fortunate to have, despite the fact that their marriage did not succeed. Everything that I've gotten from the two of them and the two new marriages that have occurred, I could talk about how grateful I am for my parents all day long.
mm,
But I think I got the goofiness from him. And so anytime I explain anything to him, like, hey, this is what I'm doing, uh, usually both of any time for them, it was always like, if you are being responsible with this, go for it.
mm.
Which been I've always been a bit of a realist
Yeah.
when it comes to things. Like there was never a point where I was like, okay, we're going to do YouTube next month. We'll be in LA, living in LA, doing YouTube. It's like, oh, I'll sell my car just for a few, so we can get a few months worth of money to do YouTube. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've never been that way. So it's always for them has been like, oh, that's cool. As long as if you're happy and you're doing stuff responsibly, like if you're not shirking work or
Mm.
shirking school to get this stuff done, I mean, who knows what could happen. So that was always their stuff. Uh, my mom was harder to convince that I should quit my job.
Mm.
Sorry, no, I'm not going to use the word should. My mom was harder to convince when I told her I was going to quit my job.
Yeah.
Um, and we can talk about that more. I think you told me you wanted to mention that later, but um, my dad, luckily, right when I decided to pursue this as a legit thing,
Mm.
he had just retired from
Mm.
his job, and he'd worked there for like 35 years. He did not love it. My grandmother got very sick. He actually worked for AT&T,
Mm.
but not. He was a manager for some sort of back end stuff. So he was up in the corporate meetings and things like that, and they were going through a surplus, which meant we have too many people working and we need to get rid of some people. If anybody's ready to go, raise your hand. That way we don't fire somebody who wants to stay.
Right.
And so he was like, you know what? I'll take my severance pay. I'll get out of here. And he retired. And I remember conversations with him. He was like, I wish I would have done this years ago, because it allowed me to do so many things, but I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And when I told him, like, hey, there's this thing I'm passionate about, I want to try it, he's like, you should try it. Don't, I'm grateful for everything that I have and stuff like that, but if you can avoid 30 years of not wanting to do something, only to realize post 30 years that there's this other thing that you really love, which is what he runs a wedding venue now. He built a barn where people come to get married, and he gets to do all the things he loves to do, which is building stuff and woodwork and, being outside and things like that. And he's like, if you can avoid wandering 30 years to get there, please do that again, as long as you can do so with food in yours and your wife's mouth, and, clothes on yourselves and future babies if they come, just make sure you know what you're doing. And so that was his point of view on it. My mom was just, I think, confused.
Yeah.
About it made more sense to him, I guess, because he is the kind of he I don't think he would tell you or me but he does like an audience.
Yeah.
He and also I didn't mention this, but I think it's genetic. My paternal grandfather and grandmother are responsible for helping build in another town a group of play actors.
Oh, no way.
They're called the Calhoun Players, and Will Tank comes up, is in several of their plays now, but it's been a community play acting thing for several years that they helped found.
That's awesome.
So there are pictures of my granddad and my dad dressed up in Annie Get Your Gun, with big makeup and big like red lipstick on their acting makeup and stuff, and they're like both holding out their hands singing to one another on a stage on this poster. Oh man, I forgot about that.
That's amazing.
I need to go. I own that. I inherited that, so I need to go get it and hang it up in here. But yeah, I think it comes naturally to me. Anyway, my mom is not that way.
Yeah.
I've asked her to come up and be in videos and different things, and she's like, I just don't really want to be on camera. So I think it's just a little harder for her to understand that this is what I want to do, but she's getting there. She's still sometimes confused whenever, she's like, she'll call me and I'm like, hey, I'm in the middle of, and she's like, oh, you're doing your podcast. And I was like, well, I don't have time to explain that's not the right word right now, but yes.
That's amazing.
It was harder to explain
That's
for her,
precious.
but she's also very supportive. They're both very supportive of me just trying to do something that doesn't make me miserable.
That's fair. That's good. I feel like that's a very good way to approach this, and I think that's also good advice. Wanting to get started in the things that you're passionate about early, and trying to actually see if whether it should be a hobby or whether it should be something that you really need to pursue, and for each person it might be a little different. But I feel like that's very good advice and stuff. Now, before we continue there, I believe a couple of times people may have noticed, did you have a ring on your finger?
I do.
I regret to inform everybody, but Tank is taken. He is
taken.
So tell us a little bit about how did you meet Lizzie, and also what's kind of been her thoughts on streaming and all that sort of stuff. What's that been like?
Sure. What I'm about to say either gets like awes throughout the room, like "Aw," or like I don't know if I could have done that. But Lizzie and I met, the first time I ever saw my wife Elizabeth was in 3-year-old kindergarten.
Aww.
We met. We went to school all the way through high school together, and we started dating in the senior year the business. Sorry, I did notice a big awe in the chat. But we went to high school together. Again, this comment a lot of times will, some people will scratch their head at it, and even sometimes I myself scratch my head at it. But I'm grateful for it. She's the only woman I've ever dated.
Mm.
She's the only legitimate relationship, that I've ever had. But in senior year, we started dating in high school. We dated through college, did the long distance thing, got out of college, and I was like, I mean, of course, long distance leads to some struggles, but there was never
Sure.
anything that was like, we need, I'm not happy with you or anything like that. Like we always work through things, and
Mm.
we fit together quite well. We make a good team, and so I got my job out of college, and I was like, this job sucks, but you know what's cool about this job? It pays the bills so that I can ask Lizzie to marry me.
Mm.
So I was like, you know what? Marriage has always been something that I've been down with. I'm down with monogamy for me personally. I'm happy to legally bind a partner to myself, and if she will have me, I will legally bind her to me until she finds me dead in my streamer chair one day. So
The way we all want to go.
yep.
With the
Did you
live stream still going for 6 hours.
did you finish your stream, honey?
Oh my gosh.
The only way to go.
But the only exactly, it's how we all wish. But and to be fair, I feel because you mentioned long distance, I feel like even though very difficult. Surely there are times where that is very difficult. I'm sure that also helps in establishing in order to have a relationship survive long distance, you have to learn to communicate, and you have to learn to because you can't just solve everything right in the moment. Usually, if there's distance, you have to kind of talk things through, figure out what's going on. So I'm sure that was something that ended up being probably better for the long run, even, or establishing you guys already had a great foundation having known each other for so long, but I'm sure that was something that I probably had hard times, but
Oh yeah,
things you learned from.
certainly. It helped a lot. And who knows if we would have gone to college together, may not have made it. I don't know.
Mm,
I'm not a necessarily a soulmate believer in her.
mm,
I won't tell you that we had to be together, but I am definitely an ascriber to the fact that love is work sometimes.
mm.
It doesn't just happen
A lot of
to
times.
you every day. Even some days when we're married, obviously, you don't always wake up or end the day like super excited to,
Mm,
be doing, be where you're at or whatever. Not like I want to leave, but there's some you get on each other's nerves or
mm,
whatever. But certainly post marriage, like I made a commitment to you publicly and legally and emotionally and everything else. And what kind of person am I if I'm not going to work to make this work? And I've always kind of been a commitment guy. So even in high school or through college, I'm like, well, if there are two options, if we're having problems and there's two options, give up or work on it. I'm just a work on it guy.
mm,
I don't want to throw this away. Like I'm more happy than I am sad. I'm just kind of, I'm ticked off right now or you're ticked off right now. Let's work on it. And if we can't
mm.
work it out, that's one thing. But if we can work it out, that's two less broken hearts in the world. And that's a good thing. I don't know how I feel about never wanted to leave a string of broken hearts or
Yeah.
or be a broken heart, so I've always been kind of a I just want to I've always liked her and loved her, and she's always liked me and loved me more than at any given point she didn't or I
Mm.
didn't, so that's as long as that math works out, we should work on it, and
I like that.
we've done so. And I consider that we are, we maintain that we're in love, and try not to go to bed frustrated at one another, even though this enterprise that I got going on right here is can add some stress, but we
Sure,
knew that would happen.
sure.
Um,
And well, and
but you asked.
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna say, well,
Sorry.
I mean, I think that's also something that a lot of times people forget also applies to even our friendships and stuff. That it usually requires work. It can be great when everything is very easy and you don't have to deal with, um, uh, if you never have a problem with someone, it's great. But I feel like the most rewarding friendships I've had have probably been ones where we've had conflict but have been able to work past it and also then choose to sort of like love and respect the other person and um, hopefully push both of hopefully we're both pushing each other uh, to be better. So it can be something that a lot of times we want the easy road, but the conflict there can be I think helpful in the long run. So
Yeah.
you're married. You had a full-time job. Um, what was it like initially balancing work and streaming for you?
So yeah, that's where that whole thing is where I get my goofed up schedule, or
Mm.
like my schedule that everybody's like, how do you do that? Um, so started making YouTube videos in 2017. Got married October 14th of 2017, and I think I started the YouTube in like September. And so the last thing that my new wife would want to hear, or that I would want to do,
Mm-hmm.
is that okay, 5 o'clock has hit. I'm headed home. Let's grab a quick bite to eat, and then I'm going to go record YouTube videos for an hour or two for our evening every night, and that's just going to be how life is because this is my dream,
Yeah.
and you married into that dream. It doesn't work for anybody
Mm.
really. I don't want to be separated that way, and I know that she did not.
Yeah.
So my thought is, well, here's my passion. I love it. It is my baby, and I do not want that baby to die. And here's my marriage. It's my new baby,
Yeah.
which I will allow other things to die for if I must.
Mm.
But if I can, let both babies live. We always try to get both babies to live. And so,
It's a good rule for a lot of things,
yes.
including
So,
babies.
right, especially babies. uh, for those of you out there with child having children, protect the babies.
Yeah.
But so I thought, I've never had a problem waking up early. I love the morning time.
Mm.
I'll just push my alarm clock back and I'll wake up early. It's nice to wallow around in bed with your significant other if you have one. Like it's nice to stretch up together in the
Mm.
morning when the sun rises or whatever. But in my opinion, I asked her too. I was like, okay, so morning versus evening time. Would you rather we go to bed together or wake up together
Mm.
in the morning? And she's like, well, I sleep later than you most of the time anyway. I choose go to bed together.
Mm.
I was like, okay, then that's what we'll do. I will do everything that I do for my second job passion early in the morning. Alarm will go off at 4 or 5. I'll drink some coffee. I'll record gameplay. Then I'll get up, get ready, go to work.
Mm.
And I'll wake you up and, whatever. So that's how everything started, and that's how I juggled it, or that's how I did it for the longest time before COVID. Once I started streaming, same thing. It would be, how far can I push back my alarm to get how much time in that I can get streaming before I have to get up,
Mm.
wake Lizzie up, take a shower, and go to work. Because my work was also 45 minutes away at that
Oof.
point when I
Okay.
first started. So it was one of those things that it gives you a little sort of like pride, I guess, like a little like it made me feel good and still makes me feel good to know that like I was and am willing to fight for a passion, I
Mm.
guess.
Yeah.
Like I've heard people say like when they say, "Why are you up this early?" Like, "Oh, I couldn't do that." And I was like, in my head, I'm like, well, "Then you don't want to do something as bad as I do."
Yeah.
I guess, because you can. If you're passionate about something, you can do it.
For sure.
You can do it. I know you can, because I did it. And if you really want to do something, you'll make it happen
Mm.
if it's possible. And so that was just kind of what I did. And that was another thing with the marriage and with the relationship and all that stuff is like, hey, I'm passionate about this. How do you feel about me being passionate about this?
Mm.
The response was, well, I've always known you've been a nerd. I married you
Yeah,
because
I'm
like,
sure that
I
wasn't a
love that you're,
surprise.
yeah. It's like you like Star Wars a lot. Oh no, what have I
What's a
done?
Padme?
No.
Sorry.
so so the conversation was like, hey, this is something I'm passionate about. If this is something that you detest, we can figure out how I can pivot into something else,
Hmm.
or whatever. But a lot of times you go into that conversation with a significant other knowing that they're not going to shoot you down.
Yeah,
But also we have to talk about it, in my
sure.
opinion. Like I know that she would never say, I think you're dumb for this. Please don't do it.
Mm.
And I know that because we were prepared to get married. I think we knew each other. We communicated well. So I didn't have that fear.
Mm.
And she knew that I wouldn't come to her with something crazy like, hey, I know we just got married, but I need to chop off half of the small building we live in, cut the house in half, and then make a studio for
Right.
it's so we had the conversation. How do you feel about that? She's like, I know you're nerdy. I know you're goofy, and I think you're very funny. I wouldn't have married you if you're not. I think that you could be good at it, so I think you should try it if you can. And I was like, okay, I understand that. So it's going to require some effort on my part. Where do you want me to put that effort? What's more comfortable for you? She says, well, if you can wake up early, I'd rather you do that. That way we can spend time in the evening. Done. Easy peasy. I like the morning anyway because guess what doesn't exist at 4 a.m. Responsibility.
Yeah.
No one is asking you to do anything
True.
at 4 a.m. The only person who ever asks anything of me at 4 a.m. is sleeping on a blanket in the corner of this room that I showed you earlier. She's the only one who needs
Amazing.
anything from me at 4 a.m. So essentially that's just what it looked like. It's
Mm.
like figuring out where can I put this without sacrificing the comfort of without sacrificing too much of my own comfort, but especially not the comfort of this woman that I love
Mm.
and am now married to.
I love that. So, what were your first streams like? Take us back. The early
The first
days.
stream,
What
the
did you
first
play?
stream ever, the first stream ever was myself, my younger brother, and my other friend. I had watched other people play horror games
Mm.
with friends.
Mm.
Like one person plays horror game, the other two like sit back and we all chat while horror game happens.
Yeah.
So I played Resident Evil 2,
Mm.
and the three of us sat in chairs, and we had the webcam on us, and I played the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Nice.
And no one came. Yeah. But we had fun because my friends were there. Uh, and that was yeah, those were the first streams that I ever did, because it was actually at that point that I was testing, will a hotspot even work for me to stream.
Fair.
So I went to Verizon, and also if any of you are out there stream, you know that you use the internet differently than 98% of the rest of the people in the world who use the internet.
Yeah.
Therefore, no one is trained on how to help you
Mhm.
do streaming with the internet. No one knows what you're talking about. You talk to an AT&T rep. Actually, the last AT&T rep I did talk to, or Spectrum rep, did know about streaming. He's like, "Oh yeah, what's your channel name?" I actually helped a really big streamer last week with the internet.
Oh wow.
So some of them do, but very few people don't. Very few people do know.
And
So I
that
went to Verizon.
AT&T guy's rep, that was Ninja.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
poor Ninja. Oh,
Just
that
kidding.
boy needs a Fortnite infusion. But anyhow, went to Verizon, said, "Hey, I'm trying to get high upload speeds to stream. Can I do that with a hotspot?" They were like, "Oh yeah, you should be able to do that with a hotspot." Well, it turns out they throttle you after 20 gigs. So
Nice.
I did 1 3 hour stream and it tanked.
Oh no.
That's when I had to go to my brother and was like, "I'm ready for the illegal one."
Oh my gosh.
And so
I know.
that ended up working. But yeah, first stream was Resident Evil 2, just because I thought it would be fun to get scared with my friends and my brother. And then, gosh, beyond that, I stream The Long Dark,
Oh, nice.
um, which is it's a survival game.
I've never
If you
played it, but
We
I
talked
know
about
what
it
it
the other
is.
day.
Yeah.
Um,
And were you
that was the
playing
first game I
that
streamed a lot
alone?
of.
Were you playing that alone?
Yes, that was the first game I played alone.
Okay.
Um, that was my first. That was like that's what I felt like was my inaugural stream.
Mm-hmm.
Was once I got the illegal the illegal hotspot and I started streaming. I streamed The Long Dark for like 6 hours one day. Nobody showed up, and that's not a pity party thing. I'm just like, you
Sure.
want the
No,
information? I'll tell it. I'll tell it to you.
that hits all too real for me. So yeah, I
Yeah. But yeah,
that's just
stream The
how
Long
that's
Dark.
just how Twitch is. So yeah, I understand.
Yeah. Streamed The Long Dark for 6 hours one day. Watched the ported it to YouTube. Was watching the YouTube VOD like, am I good at this? Am I bad at this? Whatever. Realized that my mouth audio or my mouth movement and my audio was like 15 seconds off. So if
Gosh,
anybody
too
did
real.
even come, they would have thought I was an idiot. So it was just like that was the beginning of the slope of like, this is hard and I have to learn a lot.
For
But
sure.
yeah, that's what all the streams looked like in the beginning was, I'm playing games and trying to talk to myself and, pretending that if someone's there just waiting to say something, I need to be just as entertaining without them saying anything.
Yeah. So what were your expectations going into streaming then?
Low.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, everything that I've tried too late.
Mm.
Every media thing I've tried too late. I loved making skits for YouTube. 2 to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minute, whatever, like under 10-minute sketches for YouTube. I live for that. Like premise, goofy characters, joke, absurd ending, misdirect. I loved those. I loved making these silly little videos about real life stuff. I was probably 5 years too late. That part of YouTube is dead mostly from what I can tell, and it was dead when I started doing it. There weren't people wandering around YouTube in the like recently uploaded section, clicking on a 5-minute video to invest 5 minutes with someone with 15 subscribers on a little, sketch or whatever. That was too late. Also, again, all of you who are streaming right now, Jet, I'll say this to you, and I'm saying it to me. We all started Twitch too late. We started Twitch that was later than it would have been easy to start.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
Not too late to be successful.
Sure.
But we all started after the boom.
Yes.
The people who started early, obviously, but early on in Twitch's lifespan, they had it easier than now when there are millions of active Twitch channels.
And I'm a pandemic streamer. I started after that, and that was also there was a huge boom of a new wave of people coming in all at that same time.
Right.
So yeah, totally, I get that.
Exactly. The jet wave was inside the biggest wave. Probably the biggest wave we've seen since Twitch started originally.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, I started everything I've started too late. Fortunately, when I started Twitch, I already had 4 years of making YouTube videos that just didn't really go anywhere, as well. So like, it sounds defeatist or whatever, but like, I'd already been disappointed. I wasn't on a mountaintop. I already knew that. My thought was, if I can outlast how difficult this is, I could get somewhere. And that's always been my goal. I knew that Twitch was a lottery when I started. Unfortunately, it's still a lottery in many ways. It's a lottery with who comes into your stream. It's a lottery with how many of those people come into your stream. It's a lottery of what kind of person has come into your stream. And all that happens underneath. Like you have to be, from what I've experienced, for the general populace, some people blow up and that's awesome for them. But for the general Twitch streamer that wants to be successful, it feels like you have to put in a concrete foundation. that anytime someone drops a luck bag on you, there's somewhere for it to land,
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if you hit a good game or whatever, you got a freight train of concrete underneath everything that lands. And that's always been my goal is provide something reliable,
Mm.
comfortable that people can enjoy and hopefully come back to and always remember that no one owes you anything
Mm.
and that it probably isn't going to work out. But try it anyway because
Yeah,
you're passionate about it,
that's true, and I
you
think
know?
I mean I think that covers, I think a lot of I mean a lot of the experience. I think of a Twitch streamer. I think you've kind of covered there because there and we've talked about this before, and we'll get to it a little bit in a few questions from now. But yeah, there is a lot of luck that is involved with Twitch. So much of it is out of your hands. You really only have control over what you have control over, and that's the only thing that you can really. That's the only thing that you can really affect. Everything else completely random. You can have the most prepared stream ever and still no one show up. So you have to, and you can advertise, you can do this or that, but you really it depends. There's a lot of uncertainty in it, but there is something to be said about consistency and perseverance through that, where you've got to, like you said, by creating a concrete foundation. Then when those big things happen, whether it's a big raid or just the right mixture of people come in, then you're ready for having that moment ready. I think a lot of inexperienced streamers and entertainers have they're kind of waiting for that big raid or that big moment to happen, but they're not necessarily preparing or have set up a foundation ready to welcome that type of that type of thing. So I think what you've said is very accurate to the experience.
I think one thing that benefited me and continues to benefit me is that in my heart, I am an entertainer, I
Mm,
guess. Um, some people come into streaming like I love games and I want to share games with people,
mm,
or I love X thing and I want to share that with people, and I do very much do I want to do that, but there's like really streaming was a thing where like I love video games and I play them a lot and I love entertaining people and I want to do that. The the only way that would ever be able to break into anywhere right now, streaming is more popular, I feel like, than pre-recorded things at the time,
mm,
and I think it still is. People love the stream, people love watching streams, etc. You can interact with it, you can take ownership of a stream
mm,
more so than you can by watching someone's YouTube video. Uh, and my thought was just the only place that I could marry those two things and use it to continually create something kind of and make that foundation was Twitch. So
mm,
I guess a thing that benefits me, I guess, is that I am more passionate about entertainment than I am about Twitch.
mm,
And so when I look at Twitch, Twitch of course is the best place to do it, and it's where I want to do it, and it's where I've made a home. But I didn't look at Twitch like you're all I got, and if you don't work out, it's over.
mm,
I guess I just I and I brought in the little bit of confidence that I do think I'm fat, like kind of built and good at this.
mm,
Uh, I hesitate to be confident about many things, but I do think I'm better at this than I am at a lot of things.
mm.
And so that also, kept me going. But yeah, the short answer is that expectations have always been and will continue to be uh, low, only because I know that it's hard. Not because I don't appreciate what's happened before, but because I know that, at any given point things can change. And
For sure.
if I have my whole identity wrapped up in this and the legs get kicked out from
Mm,
under it, then I'm in a lot more trouble than when I started,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be in that
No, for
position.
sure. And I mean, I think, I know, I think you're a great entertainer. So I think coming into your streams, always note that there is some entertainment to be had. There you go. You see, a
You see?
streamer, singer, now dancer. There you go. We're learning so much about you. Now, quick detour. What was it like to quit your job? Because you touched on that a second ago, but you had a full-time job. You were working full-time hours. You were splitting some of your streaming schedule so that actually a lot of your all every day was split a bit, where you had early mornings and then some afternoons as well. What was it like to then finally decide that you were going to quit your job and focus on this? What was that process like? What were the conversations you had to have? All that sort of stuff.
Well, pre-COVID, it was all morning, 5 days a week. It was all in the morning, and COVID was only when I got the opportunity to do those afternoon streams
Oh, okay.
that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I did those while on the clock. Like I did. Like if you go back and look at some of the VODs,
Uh-huh.
like I think if you're on the YouTube channel and you watch Final Fantasy VII when Final Fantasy VII came out.
Uh.
I know I was working then, and I did that in the afternoon, and so those afternoon streams were every time those afternoon streams came, like, hey, I'm on the clock right now. My work laptop is right here.
Mm.
If something comes up, the stream is over. I have to, I want you. So that was me covering my own butt too.
Yeah.
Is like, but no. I can prove to you, boss,
Yeah.
that I never, I did my work. And that was another thing.
We all
too, is that,
remember we all remember how that Final Fantasy stream became an Excel spreadsheet stream.
guys, we got to talk about retirement of South Carolina State employees for a little while. There were times where my boss called me during a stream, and I'm sure that when I came back from the phone call, like my face was all like I was pouring sweat, probably.
Yeah.
But he never called me about the stream, obviously. But yeah, I did a lot of work on stream. I see War in the chats talking about how I used to neglect chat to answer emails. It is true. But COVID allowed me to test out that afternoon slot, and COVID was 2020. That's when all that started, right?
Yeah.
And so in 2020, around the summertime, I started playing Breath of the Wild in the mornings on my stream. Up until that point, any of you who stream again know that the number 3 well. That number 3. And maybe you don't. I don't know. It seems like a common thing when I look at small streamers. But the number 3
Oh yeah.
is the only number I saw on the viewer number for years.
Sure.
Or not
yeah.
years, for over a year. Excuse me, for months and months. Like 3. And a lot of times that person, I see Shadow Links in the chat. A lot of times it was Shadow Links 87. A lot of times it was War. I would never have met War probably if I didn't stream early in the morning. Those are friendships I'm grateful for. But that 3 number was it. And it was getting to a point. I know one regular viewer who used to be a regular viewer who came in at that time. They said like, yeah, you look like before people started coming in and chatting, you look like you were getting tired. And I was, but I started playing Breath of the Wild and people started showing up for that stream. And when I say people started showing up, like, now you got 5 people watching, or like 7 or 8, or like you. And I would love to go back in time and experience the feeling of like organically rising above 10 viewers again. I would love to experience that, because the joy that I felt at that, like, what's going it's happening.
It's happening.
But that was, I think, what breathed the life that I've been breathed oxygen into the fire that I've been trying to fan for the last 2 or 3 years. That was the moment that I've been trying to keep going, because that's when people started to come in. We got a bunch new followers. throughout that, and I am not a completionist by any stretch, but I beat Ganon in Breath of the Wild, and I was like, how do I make this game last longer? Luckily, it's Zelda. Let's go get all those shrines. So I think I streamed probably 50 hours total of Breath of the Wild, and I was getting up to like 16, 17 people watching, and it was just the best time. And you know, up a couple hundred followers at that time, which was really cool. And that was the first time I ever thought like, okay, maybe this could be a thing. Maybe we could make this into something. Maybe this is that point in the graph where we could, it tips up a little bit. And that I needed that at the time, and I was grateful to have it. And so that continued, and I continued to gain, a few more viewers and a few more viewers. Even though sometimes, it dips down or whatever.
Sure.
And right now we're, it's not hard to find someone's average viewership or know how many people is there whenever you normally watch. So we haven't like exceedingly grown a ton since then, but we definitely dipped down after Breath of the Wild, and that average has constantly increased.
Yeah.
I think it was around like the 800 follower mark or so. COVID had happened. COVID had been going on a year. I had been doing the afternoon streams on work time. That felt really good. I had been kind of living the streamer life and then having my full-time job as a part of that, as instead of the other way around. At least in my own head. And people had been subscribing, and we had a couple good months. Good months for a small streamer, like you make $100.
Yeah.
Make $100-$200 or something like that. And my grandmother in the summer of 2020 passed away. And she had always talked about like, I want to leave you a little bit of money. Your granddad and I, we saved up. We're obviously going to leave the lion's share of things to your dad, and for all that stuff. But you're my only biological grandson, and I want to leave you something special. That way, if you want to use it as a safety net, if you want to use it for, I'll be dead, so whatever. But I want to leave you some money. And so she passed away. Of course, I would trade whatever she gave me to have her back, but she lived a long, good life. And she did leave me a few dollars of an inheritance, like pass down some money to me. Nothing crazy, but enough that I could begin to think like, this would be a really cool IV to keep my finances alive while I make a go at this streaming thing, especially because Lizzie has graduated law school and is now a lawyer.
Yeah.
And so she's increasing her pay and stuff. And so I thought, if there is a time to do it, it's now. If we have a kid and I'm still working and, there are obligations and there are other things, I'm not going to do it later.
Yeah. If
there is a time to take a risk, a calculated risk.
Right.
I would never have done it if I was still at 50 followers and 2 people watching. And I would never have done it if I didn't have some sort of safety net with a little bit of extra cash. So I'll be the first person to tell anyone in chat that I am the very fortunate recipient of some very cool circumstances that have allowed me to try this.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that. I don't want anybody to think that, I would ever point a finger at anyone and be like, if you want to be successful, you got to quit your job.
Yeah.
Or something. I would never say that.
Yeah.
I am just very fortunate to be able to try that. Otherwise, it'd still be 4 a.m. every single day.
Yeah.
Now it's only 3 days. But I've talked to Lizzie. I was like, hey, if you're comfortable with this, I know I'm the finance guy of the family. I am financially comfortable with it. It will be a bit of a, it won't be the most comfortable thing. We're going to have to think a little bit more about money than we did before. But I asked her, I was like, how miserable do you think I am on a daily basis going to my job? And she's like, oh, a 10. She's like, I can tell that you hate the majority of your waking life. Just because you don't.
Enjoy
it's just
what you're doing, yeah.
Yeah, did not care for it. And I don't know why that is. I guess I just have that the bug in me, this passion that can't. it's unfortunate. I say it a lot. Unfortunately I'm passionate about this and not about other things.
Sure.
And I wish I was. I wish I was passionate. I honestly wish I was passionate about climbing the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
Because I think I could do a really good job at that. I've always been good at interviewing. I've always been good at like, rubbing elbows or whatever. But instead, inside of me is like, hey, you're passionate about trying to make people like you on the internet and not having the power to make sure it happens.
Yeah.
But we had that conversation, and she said, no, if you think it will make you happy and that we can do it, I think you should do it. And so, that was all I needed. And that was not all I needed. That was a discussion. If there comes a time, would you be okay? And the time came whenever, for no reason at all, my state agency that I work for said, all right, everybody, 2 weeks from now, 10 days from now, you're back in the office. After a year of being work from home.
Oof.
And I told Lizzie, I was like, if I go there the first day, I'm going to know one way. I'm going to know whether I can handle going back to living that way or whether it's over. I sat down at my desk that first day, started working, and I was like, no.
No.
And yeah, I'm pretty sure by 10 a.m. I had walked into my boss's office and I was like, hey, I would like to put in my notice. Yeah, I think I'm good. And I explained the same thing, kind of the same way I've explained it to you, is like, this is what I'm passionate about. Working from home allowed me a lot of time to, think about that and to work on it or whatever. I didn't tell him I streamed during work.
Right.
But, the same conversation is like, my boss is super cool. I like my boss. I've had lunch with him several times since I quit. And I told him like, hey, I'm willing to stick around for a couple months. Like, I'm not going to give you just a 2 weeks because I know this job is hard to train. And it's a difficult one or whatever. I'll stick around for a while. I just want you to know I want to be gone by June. And he said, okay, cool. So we got started finding a replacement, and they brought the replacement in a lot later than I would hope they would, because we only got a few weeks to train with her. I quit, and I've not looked back and not been required just yet to look back.
Awesome. That's good. And I mean, because it's such a huge step for sure. And I know a lot of people have considered that for sure. And I think what you've said is very important, because not everybody is in the right, situation to do that, or really, sometimes people jump the gun early on. And so just making sure that it's the right time and it makes the most sense. I think that's good. And I feel like your community has appreciated it as well, because I know that you've adjusted your schedule. So now that you're only waking up early a few days a week, and now you're streaming more in a more comfortable time. You don't have to wake up as early. Yeah. So that's good. Okay, some questions though. Now that you've been streaming for a while, what is your favorite part of streaming?
I really love, I feel like the most common answer is like, I just love chatting. I just love chatting back and forth. And I like sharing things with you all. It's the same thing I said earlier, is that I developed a passion for, like, just making the thing and putting the thing together, and then being like, you want another one? I got more back here. Let's do some more.
There are so many Adele songs you can cover.
Yeah, you like this video game? Well, there are other video games we could play. Well, let's do that. Yeah. I love the idea of sharing stuff with people, connecting with people, and entertaining. It's the theme word of the conversation, I guess. It's just like, the world sucks hard most of the time. And I know it did. Like, the thing that I love most about watching Twitch and watching YouTube during work was like, somebody's got to get me out of here
Mm.
so that I can be mentally present enough to do my work, but I want to be somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And so people provided that for me. I watched a lot of War Never Changes while I was working.
Mm.
And I watched a lot of other people while I was working. I watched Shadow Lynx 87 fight the same Valkyrie in God of War for like 8 hours one day at work. But he was live when I got to work, and he was live when I left work. Um, and the idea of being able to provide a reliable space for people to come, and if you just want to watch a video game, watch a video game. If you want to chat, please chat.
Mm.
And just being able to share, I guess, my life and my passion and my goofballedness
Mm.
with other people.
Mm.
That interaction and I guess the feedback from people saying like I really appreciate what you do. I don't know, just just giving people things
Mm.
is what I love the most, I guess.
I love that. What has been the hardest part of streaming?
My self-esteem.
In what
Has
ways?
been the I have always been a get into the weed. Like if there's a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while the DJ revolves it. I'm always
Wow. Okay.
been that. I've always been the vanilla ice of things.
Yes.
Sorry. My point is that things when problems arise, I enjoy fixing them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like it when tech messes up. I don't like it when Stream Elements doesn't work. I don't like it when the internet. Well, I can't fix the internet, so I really hate that one. But I don't mind all that stuff. When things go wrong, there's a fix and it can be fixed and we'll get it done. The thing for me is definitely thinking that I've got a good idea, or getting used to a certain thing and then that thing changes. Like getting used to a lot of people hanging out for Breath of the Wild and then switching to some other game and they're not there anymore. And then you think like, well, again, that you start looking around at other people who are playing the same game, and it's like, well, the only difference, they've got the same amount of followers as I do, but they've got or less followers than I do, and there's a bunch of people hanging out in their stream, and there's nobody here, and we're playing the same game. Well, the math works out to say that's a me problem.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I am not good enough, I guess, whatever. And I'm not saying that's the correct way to think. It certainly is not.
Sure.
But the fight with myself has been constantly the most unfun thing about streaming, because in my heart, like we've said, like I know that I'm pretty decent at this stuff, and I think I do have interesting things to share with people and with the world, and I don't think I'm the most unique guy in the world. I might be talking to one of the most unique and talented guys in the world.
Stop it.
I'm not the most. I know that I'm not like top 5 dudes on the planet, but I do think that I am an entertaining guy, and I think I have something to offer, and I think that I am good at this, and I have skills. But that sometimes matched with like, there's just nobody here, and so it begins to make you second guess yourself. So the fight with myself is always the least fun part about streaming.
For sure. And I think most streamers can probably relate to that to some extent, because there's something to be said about streaming, whether you're making or really entertaining, whether you're making videos on YouTube, whether you're streaming on Twitch. You are putting yourself out there, and hoping, kind of like you said, hoping that at least a couple of people latch onto that and say, "Oh, this is really good. This is really funny. I want more of this type of content." And so it can be a very, at least in comparison to the work that I've done outside of this, if I was working in an office, like if somebody didn't like something that I was working on in the office space, I'm not really putting myself out there so much. So if they don't like it, it's sort of like, sure, great. You don't like this graph, or you don't like this image or graphic that I've made or whatever. That's totally fine. That really doesn't affect me, I suppose. But if you're putting yourself out there on a stream where, a lot of streams and a lot of successful streams are the personality behind it. especially as a variety streamer, because there are some streamers who they only play one game, and so a lot of people come to see that game specifically. And then you have, if you're a variety streamer, your hope usually is that by the power of your personality alone, people will will arrive, and then they'll keep coming, and they'll keep chatting, and that sort of thing. So for sure, it can be difficult to put yourself out in that situation, and then have those. I mean, Twitch is a very, we've talked about this. Twitch is a very it comes in waves. So, like success, sometimes you're up on top of the wave. Sometimes you're at the bottom. Sometimes you're at the bottom, and you're just watching everyone else kind of swim past you. And it can be difficult doing that. But kind of as you said, I mean, like if it can be very devastating if your only point of value is the number that you see of the people watching you, and it can be a very difficult experience. But I think one thing that I consider a lot of times, and I think we've chatted about this before, but that when you compare, comparison is very easy on these types of platforms. I think even if you're not a streamer, you could relate to it. Maybe if you're at least on social media of some kind, looking at Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, seeing how people, or Snapchat or whatever, seeing how successful people get around you, and seeing how people respond, whether it's to images that they post or videos that they're posting, and then comparing yourself to like then the feedback you get. You're oftentimes comparing your worst to somebody else's best. Like you're never really giving yourself like a fair comparison there. So it can be we often are our own worst critics, and I think especially when we have metrics on our dashboard that are like a live feed of this is how many people are watching you. This is maybe a representation of how enjoying you, or how much enjoyment you are giving people. It can be tough. So for sure,
look at all these graphs of your value. Aren't they pretty?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, wow, you say a joke and you see that follower number decline, and you're like, cool. Yeah, it can be it can be incredibly frustrating. So I get that. It's something that I get what you mean by saying that your esteem can be something that is the hardest part about working this, or doing this stuff, because you're putting yourself out there, and it's very difficult to not separate any kind of value judgment based on that, when in reality, like we've said, there is so much luck and randomness based on streaming, because you could have a ton of regulars, but maybe there's a day they're all busy. Maybe like they have their own lives outside of this. And so maybe they're just all busy. And so you kind of have to just go with the flow, run with the punches, and see what the next stream holds, and try not to be defeated by that also is sort of a challenge as well.
I'm very glad to consistently win in the fight against myself. But just there are some days where like you turn off the stream, and you're like, I need to punch myself one time, and then not like real punch, but like I need to take in this feeling. It's valid.
Sure, yeah.
It's right. It's just a valid emotion that I'm experiencing. I'm a little bit bummed about how this turned out, but also, there's tomorrow. There's tomorrow, and I'm not gonna let it. Again, the fight with myself, I usually win because there are plenty of things that people have said to me. And there's one thing I do keep in my phone. Anytime my wife sends me a really sweet text message or writes me a note or whatever, I write them down in my phone. If ever I'm having like a bad day, or like like we were in an argument or whatever, something like that, I go back and I look at those. That's like little like a little breath mint. Like, no, wait, hold on. So I can remember also such nice things that people have said to me about this, and like what reason would some of these people have to lie when they say nice things to me? even though sometimes your brain says like, well, of course they're
They
lying, whatever.
hate
But
you. Yeah,
uh,
your
yeah,
inner Smeagol Gollum pops out and is like,
yeah.
"You have no friends." Yeah, it's
So sometimes I'll just go back and pull some of those and be like, no, I got plenty to. I'm fighting with myself, but I'm gonna win
mm,
because in the end of the day, there's all you got to do is sit down and think for a little bit, and you realize why a lot of the stuff you're worried about,
mm.
no need to be worried about it right now.
Sure. And I think for people and streamers who don't have a I think it's important to have a community of streamers that you're kind of talking to and learning from, because I would say even if you are playing the same games as another streamer, you will find that you still have stuff that you can learn from anybody. And honestly,
Hmm.
I think that even goes whether you're somebody who has a high viewership, high followership, to somebody who has a lower viewership, lower followership. There's something that you can learn from everyone, and that's part of the reason why want to do the Jetwave in some ways, because I feel like there's something that we can learn from each other. But I think it's important to also compare notes, and also I think most streamers will find that if they open up to other streamers, whether it's via Discord or something, get on a call with somebody and start saying like, oh, this has been kind of difficult, or how have you experienced that? What have you done to kind of counteract that? Most people will find that most streamers have dealt with this as well, where everybody has been
Yeah.
on the waves. There are a few people, like you said, there are a few very rare cases where someone just explodes, never has an issue with that ever again, and it's just just perfect, and that's the rare situation. Everyone else still has waves and all that sort of stuff. So I think there's a lot that we can learn from each other. Is there anything that you don't like about streaming, or the
That I
aspect of
don't.
streaming, maybe?
Um, I don't think so. Like,
Okay.
there's nothing that I end up doing that I do with streaming that I really don't like to do.
Mm.
Um, I don't I don't love right now putting my VODs on YouTube because sometimes I'm just like I don't really want to go into Illustrator and make a thumbnail and spend the time doing it and wait for it to load over from YouTube or whatever.
I hear that.
But I know that's a necessary thing because I like I said I want that concrete foundation. Like imagine there's some random person who pops into the stream. They're like, I'm in love with this person, and I have to see everything they've ever done. Well, good luck, dude. There's 1,600 videos for you to watch.
Yeah.
Um, but there they are. So I don't really that kind of thing. I don't super care for.
Mm.
I hate picking new games to play.
Oh, for sure.
Because there are so many games that I want to play, but I got to think about what other people want.
Mm-hmm.
No, there is something I don't like about Twitch streaming. I'm going
Uh
to tell you all.
oh. It came to you. What is it?
Chat,
Tell me.
I don't. I don't like asking you what I should play. Because, and that's nothing against you, chat. Chat folks, people, those of you who are in my community, whenever I ask, because sometimes I'll ask. There's different reasons why I wouldn't like it. Sometimes I'll ask, but in my head I have something that I want them to say, and if they're not saying it, I have a reason to shoot down anything they do say.
Mm.
Or the other way around is like a lot of people people will say, I want you to play this, and like I don't really like that or whatever. And then the final problem is that a lot of times I appreciate when people like, I want to help you pick your new game, but then like, but I know I won't really be there.
Yeah.
So anytime at this point, right? Maybe one day it'll be like
Yeah.
easier, but right now, whenever I just need to pick my games
Mm-hmm.
because I agonize over it.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to Chad about it, and everybody's maybe got a different opinion or whatever. And then I got to pick like, well, whose opinion? I don't want to value anyone's opinion over anybody else's, and
Right.
who's going to be there and stuff like that. So I'm learning my best just to try to pick what I play
Yeah.
and not worry about I think that's really why I worry about it is I don't want to disappoint
Mm.
anybody,
Mm.
and I want everybody to be as happy as they can be. So that's why I ask. But then during the asking, I realized I'm just going to end up disappointing someone, and so that part about stream, but that's not really streaming. That's like I guess variety streaming. So
No, I
um,
feel like that applies, and that is so true. I think that is the dilemma of the entertainer, and also the is wanting to make sure that people are enjoying themselves, and so you want that feedback. But I think I feel like most streamers that I've talked to have 100% experienced that I'm gonna ask what chat wants me to play. Great, I'm gonna play that game. None of the people who requested the game are there when I play it.
yeah,
Cool. Very
yeah.
cool. And so you kind of have
Then we're
to
back to the
yeah, exactly.
VOD.
Great. So yeah. I totally get that because that can be. I've experienced that too, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like, and you know, I feel the same way. I think my thing sometimes is I don't want to take a vote for like which game I should play. And then some people be like, "Cool, I had no interest watching the game that you chose, so I'm
Yeah.
now deciding that I'm not going to be watching your streams for the next little bit." That can be frustrating, but I think, I mean, when it comes to it, I've now learned, I think, more that because it's just so random from the day to day, it's just like it doesn't even matter. It's how
Yeah.
I feel. I'm just like, great, cool. There are some days that the game I choose, it seems to affect the viewership. There's some days where we're playing the same game, nobody's there. So I think it's
Right.
just sort of a random thing that you kind of have to, especially as a variety streamer, you kind of have to just keep on going, truck through it, and sometimes maybe it's good to evaluate. I'm the type of person that when I start the game, I want to finish it, but sometimes you have to evaluate and say, oh, maybe actually legitimately no one is interested in this game, or maybe this is not as fun of an experience as I thought it was going to be. So let's just stop this game and move on
Yeah.
to something else or whatever.
There's like a lot of it's like you got to be worried about a lot of stuff whenever you're streaming, and there's like a pie chart, and
Yes.
it's like I'm worried about the content I produce, and I'm worried about kind of like I see in chat or whatever, like maybe there's a game that you don't really like, but they will like, or
Mm-hmm.
there's all these different things, and there's like you got to measure what outweighs what at what time. So no, I completely agree with everything
It
you're
is a
saying, but
it's a balancing act for sure.
yeah.
So
Which also I recognize too that sometimes these conversations do come, they feel like these lofty conversations, but still at the current level, like I'm talking about the normal numbers of viewership or whatever. So the more a channel grows, that becomes easier,
mm,
like of because whenever you're starting out, and even I still feel like I'm starting out a lot of the times, but I know I'm not. But that the pie chart of who's there and who's interested in what, like the percentage is always 100%, but
mm,
the values of those things are always shifted. So I feel
sure.
like very large channels probably could hold a vote.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I want to play Pokemon Arceus, I want to play Elden Ring, and I want to play Mario 64. All 300 of you vote, and whichever one wins, I'll play that. And
Hmm.
then that's not a hard decision,
Yeah.
right? But then when you're worried about like I'm going to disappoint 3 people and please 5 with this
It
decision,
it does
there's a little more weight.
it does feel like there's more weight when you can think of their usernames and be
Yeah,
like, I am disappointing this person
yeah.
by doing
Or
this.
yeah, or whenever like like when you're friends with someone in the chat, they're like
Sure.
or whatever, like I think it'd be cool to see you play this game that I really like,
Yeah.
and then you're like, well, I don't know if so
No, I think that
that one thing.
no, I totally get it. I totally understand. So kind of speaking of, you sort of lightly touched on this, but this past year you hit a pretty major milestone that I would say most people would consider a pretty huge milestone, which is that you hit 1,000 followers. You're now
Mhm.
currently at like 1.6. or
Yeah.
1,600. There we go. Right? Yeah, that's how that works.
Same thing. Same thing.
I'm really bad with numbers. How did that change everything for you? What was that like?
uh, it didn't. I hoped it would. I hope. I mean, there was hope in my heart that there's some algorithmic switch
Mm,
that once you hit 1,000 followers,
mm.
then they advertise you to everyone or something. Like I had hoped, I I had hoped that there was not something huge,
Right. No,
but
I totally get it.
and it really has been that kinda
Mm,
is that you hit 1,000. There's a certain amount of, I mean, I think maybe we all don't, but I know for me personally, not the difference between 1,000 1,001 followers isn't, like what one is not different, but whenever I see the 1K on someone's name,
mm.
usually I at least think, oh, they're serious about it,
Right. Yeah.
you know. And I'm not saying that you can't be serious about it below that, but that seems like a very quick way to learn
Hmm.
that, oh, they're serious about this. And so I think that's one thing that I was happy about, that like, man, that's a milestone that can show people like I've been here a while, and
Yeah.
I've worked hard, and I'm serious about this, and I've enjoyed that. But as far as it being a huge change, it has not been like yesterday things were quiet and today they're loud and they haven't shut down since.
Sure.
But I am so great. I like for this whole conversation also to be heard with the undertone that I am so grateful.
Mm,
And I think that's why hopefully I explained earlier that my expectations were low and remain. I know I'm not owed anything,
right.
and so I'm so grateful that you can ask me this question. I'm
Mm.
so grateful to be able to talk about it because of these milestones. It gave me the opportunity to make a very fun video that I thought was very humorous.
That was great.
Um, but yeah, it hasn't changed life, but it's more impressive whenever people like my wife's friends ask me how things are going.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and so the
Yeah.
reason why I wanted to bring that up was because, well, one, it is a huge achievement to reach that number. Though I know part of the reason why I wanted to ask you about that is because I feel like I've talked to a lot of streamers, smaller streamers, who they see that number as sort of being like a magical point that is like I hit 1,000 and now everything is different. And I think the reality of it is that really not a ton changes just by hitting a number, and that there's still a lot of work to do on the other side of that. And granted, though, if I do recall correctly, shortly after you hit, and I don't know if this has still been happening, shortly after you hit 1K, you had a lot of people hitting you up for possible, like, a lot of people were like, hey, do you want to collab on this thing? Right? I think you had a couple of messages like that, some random DMs. I think you mentioned you also like had some people who were like, oh, you should make some t-shirts through our company or whatever. And I think you said it was like maybe not great quality or something like that. It was kind of weird.
Yeah,
Shady.
there have been a few things. There have been more since then of the typical, like, you get a whisper about some opportunity. Yesterday I got one from an Instagram. On Instagram, somebody sent me like, "Hey, great stream great stream today. We've partnered with this new game, and we think a sponsorship might be in order. Do this game is called blah blah blah. It's a new battle royale game with customizable characters and maps and blah 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 blah." And first of all, I hate those
Yeah.
so much. Please don't. Don't start like that. Great stream today.
Yeah.
Because you know what? If I don't recognize, like, if you weren't in the chat,
Yeah.
like I know your name or something, you weren't there. That's the first thing I asked was, so did you stop by my stream this morning? What about my stream this morning made you think that I would be good for a sponsorship?
Yeah.
And so immediately the response was, oh, I was in your stream earlier this week.
Uh-huh.
I was like, okay. And I looked up the game. It's a VR game. I've never played VR on my channel. What? Like,
Why?
stop,
Yeah,
stop it.
yeah,
You know. So sorry, those frustrate me a little bit. So I assumed it was a real offer, but it's just for a VR game that I'm not gonna play. But I'm not gonna be mean to anybody. Just like, hey,
sure.
I don't think this is a game that I would play on my stream. I don't really have, we're not set up to stream VR right now. Thank you for your consideration.
Mm,
And I haven't heard back from them since because obviously all they did was they searched a hashtag Twitch streamer
yeah,
and then they sent a robo message to, whoever they've found recently underneath that hashtag.
yeah.
Um, I've had a couple people pop into the chat with graphic design in their name, and those people are irritating too.
Oh yeah.
Hey, how you doing? Good. I just they followed the channel. Hey, thank you so much for following. Uh, do you need any graphic design work?
I remember playing one time playing Apex with you, and in the middle, somebody I remember they followed, they chatted for a bit, and then they were like, "So can I send you my portfolio for some stuff?" And I remember you were just like very trying to figure out how to address this appropriately without being like too forceful or mean or anything, but just being like, is this the reason why you're here? Like,
Yeah.
is that it?
I apologize for my dog barking in the background. We might have had an Amazon delivery.
Oh, you're good. I
Um,
can't hear
I-
it. So
Usually Discord will take him out, but Angus is so loud it sounds like, I imagine the chat might, you guys might start thinking us, well, hey Tank, somebody's being murdered in your house. You should probably go check on that. But no, I do remember that day.
Yeah.
I think that was the day that I told him like, hey, I don't think that this is the best way to market this.
Yeah.
Because what like in your wildest dreams, imagine I was the most fruitful person you talked to that day. What did I do on my stream for you?
Yeah.
I guess I just said, yeah, you can send me your portfolio, and then I was like, thank you so much for interrupting my stream by asking if you could send your portfolio to me. It looks great, please, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I just it seems a little bit weird whenever people come in. Like a lot of times I just don't know. I assume maybe it's your first time trying that, because surely I mean maybe, or maybe there are people who are like so flattered. Maybe that is it. Because I remember at a time there was a time early on I got sent like 2 video game codes very early on in the YouTube days of my YouTubing. And they were like, "Hey, play this game on stream, whatever. We'll send you a code." And I was so flattered. I was like, "Of course I will do that. Of course, absolutely, I will play that game because you sent it to me. That's so kind." And both of these games were fine. Mia, enough, please. She's just woken up from a dream now and is barking at the ceiling.
We've all been there.
Anyway, yeah, of course I will do that. And I was so flattered that they would send me a code, and that's why. And so maybe that's the goal, is that, you flatter me. Oh, thank you so much for thinking of me. Of course I will look at that. And I'm not against doing that. I will happily, kindly tell people, no, thank you. But I am still waiting on that one real, that one like actually beneficial thing that might happen to me from.
I think it will.
stream.
I think it will for sure. You put a lot of work into your stream, and I can see that being fruitful for sure.
I'm hoping for so chat, like this, if you're listening to this, if you're a rep for a coffee company or for Jersey Mike subs, will work for coffee and sub sandwiches.
Nom nom.
I am happy for my first sponsorship to just be a bag of free coffee or a free sandwich a week, just to put that logo on the stream.
Hey, if you release some tank coffee, some tank beans, I will fuel up your tank with tank beans. I will definitely be a
Oh man, that I haven't even thought about that. Your own flavor of coffee one day? Oh man. I do have very grandiose dreams of like I'm ready to read ad copy. I'm ready, like I want it bad. I want to say buy this coffee. I love it. Buy enough, I'll get my own flavor. I'm ready to sell out.
I think with G Fuel, I think if you're able to push enough product uh before your contract ends, they'll actually name a flavor after you. So maybe there's like a coffee that you can coffee
Yeah.
company that you can do that with.
I think what I think the I have a tier list in my head
Mm,
of like affiliate programs aren't going to do it for me.
mm.
Where I have to sell a
Right.
thing and that's the only way I make money. The real white whale is here is dollars to talk about
Yes.
our product.
Mm-hmm.
That's the white whale.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I'm hoping for. Like I could go get an affiliate program probably. I could
Sure.
find a coffee affiliate. I could find, G Fuel affiliate program where like log in to be an affiliate, buy a butt ton of G Fuel and then try to sell it and you can make a percentage,
Yeah.
But the white whale is this is cash from our wallet to talk about
This.
Jersey Mike subs.
Please make ads for Jersey Mike subs. That would
Would
be
love to.
amazing. That'd be incredible. Okay, so a couple questions. What would you have? What's some simple advice you would give to somebody who has not started streaming but is at least like considering it? What would you say to that person?
I actually had somebody ask me some stuff, and I typed up a few things for them, and I'll try to remember the few things that I typed up. One of them I think is immediately wherever your expectations are at, lower them.
Hmm.
Not because you're not talented, not because you don't deserve it, not for any of those reasons, but because it is like we've discussed before. It is a lottery.
Hmm.
Uh, you if you're going into it and you're thinking within your first 4 or 5 months that you're going to be caught up with everybody else that you admire on the platform, you might be,
Hmm.
and that would be awesome. I want that for you. I think some people might listen to things that I say on the stream and they're like, man, Tank just doesn't want me to be successful.
Hmm.
And that's not how I feel at all. If we could all be successful, I would love that
Hmm.
very, very, very much. I want the most happiness in the world as possible. But that's not possible.
Hmm.
We can't, everyone who wants to do this can't do it.
Hmm.
I still may not get where I completely understand that, like I said earlier, there's anything could kick the legs out from under this.
Sure.
Putin could invade Ukraine and World War III happens and then all the internet is no more. Who knows, right? It may not happen. Sorry, nope. I didn't. I don't care about. I don't care about politics personally. I just read a thing this morning that was like, "Hey, World War III could happen on Tuesday," just to let you know. So
I'm just gonna continue
everybody,
sticking with my schedule, even if.
yeah, might as well. Hey, even during wartime, people need a place to relax. But no, I say lower your expectations just because it's hard
Yeah.
and it may not work.
Hmm.
I think a consistent schedule is important because it just makes sense. Like if I'm always there at a certain time of day, I'm always there.
Hmm.
You don't have to worry about going to look for whether I'm live. You don't have to be disappointed if you find out that I'm not there when you expect me to be there. People learn the schedule and they tend to tune in whenever it's possible.
Hmm.
If you want to be a variety streamer, figure out what kind of games you like, and then figure out what of those games have fairly low viewership or at least low streamership on Twitch, and focus on those a little bit. If there are only 5 people streaming a game that 500 people are watching, well, you're much more likely to get clicked on than playing Apex or Warzone or whatever. But also games that no one is watching, you might as well play those by yourself. If no one is watching a game, it doesn't have a lot of followers. You might say that I want to be the only person. I'm going to start out playing this point and click adventure game when I have 0 followers on Twitch. That's probably not going to take you anywhere.
Sure.
Because it requires someone searching that game on Twitch and then finding you. Now, if you're the only person streaming a game that people do like to watch, then you're good. But variety streaming, I think you do really need to think about what games you pick early. For me as well, when it came to variety streaming, games like that just maintain their viewership somehow, that people are always excited about, like your Breath of the Wild, I played Mario Odyssey. Red Dead Redemption, like the campaign was really cool for me. Other like games that people just enjoy that just have maintained people's interest for a long time,
Mm,
but have lost a lot of the people streaming them.
sure.
You know, there's not a ton of people streaming Breath of the Wild now. Certainly not like there were when it first came out, but people still very much love that game.
Yeah.
People are passionate about it, so it's kind of a sweet spot that was helpful to me. It may not be helpful to everybody.
Mm,
So do be intentional and think about what game you stream. I think one thing that I did not do, and I think it probably could have shaved a year or two off of my climb to wherever I'm at now, is find a way to involve yourself in other people's communities and make friends and hope one day that they will want to come check out what you do.
yeah.
What I'm not saying is pretend to make friends
Mm,
so that you can convince them to watch your stream,
yes.
because that's gross.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody who's been streaming for a minute can smell that,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't smell good. So don't do that. Um, no one likes, even if you picture, let's imagine that you picture myself or Jet as like the paragons of streaming. We have feelings, I can assure you, and neither of us like to be used
Mm.
just to create value for you,
Mm.
right? So that does not feel good when it someone kind of disrespects your work and effort in order to gain something from you, you know? So I would say don't make fake friendships, but if you like, there are a lot of people in the chat now that if I see, several people, if I see them go live that I haven't, seen them in a while, I know they're nice people and they have been friends to me and they've been kind to me. I've leaned to the side because this dog is high maintenance. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
Um, but you know, there are real relationships that have been built, and I would love to watch them play games and would love to come hang out with them. But I don't want to go hang out with someone because they obviously pretended to be a part of the community
Mm.
just so that they could mention that they stream and hope that someone shows up. So that line of, you know, that's why I don't like calling it networking. A lot of
Yeah.
people in the streaming community say like you need to network, and that just feels icky a lot of times. Just if you like Twitch, hang out on Twitch, make friends. A lot of times it will come up that you stream and people will show up and be more likely to hang out with you. And I think if I would have done a better job of that, if I would have spent, maybe if you're thinking about streaming, spend a month or two, if you've never been on Twitch before but you want to do this, spend a month or two trying to figure out what it's like. Don't stream yet, watch people, learn from people, make friends, and then when you finally do go live, people are like, there's Tank from, who's a what's its chat. I want to go see what he's up to.
Yeah. If you do some slimy networking, you'll be Paragon.
Hey.
Okay. Sorry, had to. No, and that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's very true. I think one of the most beneficial things has been creating genuine friendships with other streamers, and I think that's part of it is you need to find streamers that you can get along with, and also even if it's not like stream collabs, but even if it's just like learning from each other or just like being willing to help. Like if you're, because it can be difficult to pop into everyone's streams, but like if they're streaming and you're free and you're able to be in their chat, just kind of like lift them up a little bit, set them up with a joke, give them an opportunity to shine, and then maybe because I feel like streamers oftentimes know what it's like to be a good chatter, if that makes sense, because
Yeah.
we've all have experienced, probably most of us have experienced the chatter that comes in that's just like, oh, they're like really making this easy, they're making the conversation part of this easy. So sometimes like even just being able to pop into somebody's stream for a few minutes ask them some questions and get them talking about something that they're really passionate about, so that their community gets to see that like you can support other streamers in different ways than doing collabs or something like that. And so I think finding streamers that you can kind of grow with and continue that process alongside can be very helpful, and that is way more valuable than just trying to network for the follows, because I feel like the networking from a purely like just business standpoint might get you a follow, but you're not really creating like a relationship there that will last, and that person's not necessarily going to like invest in your community. And one of the things that I heard a while back, which I think is very smart, and I am not the best at this, and it's something that I need to be more, I think, consistent in, is some advice I heard was, because some people are usually like, well, when I start, what should how many days a week should I stream? I can stream every single day for 8 hours. Should I start my stream like that? And one of the things that I've heard people say is usually that's not the best thing you should do. Maybe pick 3 of those days, be very consistent with those, and then those off days, consider use that time to invest in either your Discord community or to like create community with other streamers, be in other people's streams, chat with them, etc. Because by doing that, you are building your foundation a bit in a different way. It may not feel like you're doing a lot of work, because maybe that follower number doesn't go up or something like that. I don't know, whatever metric you want to use may not feel that way, but you're investing in your stream and in your channel and community by doing that. So it can be there are plenty of ways to do that, but I like what you said there. Quickly, what are for you the top 3? Someone asked me this question on stream once, and I think it's a very good question. What for you are your top 3 most memorable streams?
Top 3 most memorable streams.
Mm.
Number 1, the 24-hour stream I did is definitely the number 1 most memorable stream. I would say another one of those top 3 would be the morning that we had 2 really big random Apex raids during the Apex streams in the morning. I believe you were there for one of them.
Uh-huh.
And then the second one, I think it was just me and Soul Creek playing, and Daltouche, who I had never heard of, but apparently is a large Apex streamer, rated with like 2,000, or like hosted the stream for like 2,000 people. And that was insane. And the reason I remember it is not because it was like, ooh, so many people, like, I've done it. Obviously, I didn't have anything to do with it. But what's memorable about it is there were so many people in the chat who were like, man, you seem ready for this. Like, you seem like, you seem prepared. And it was like, oh, it was just one of those moments where like, I know this is going to go away. Tomorrow, we're going to be back to the regular numbers, and that's fine. But it's nice to know that there may be some place out there where the channel grows, and I can be good at that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not wrong to think that I'm okay at this. And I thought that was a super cool thing. I will say it also is memorable because if I ever go and check like a stat tracker, I go to like twitchtracker.com or something, it has jacked my numbers way up.
Yeah.
Everything is messed up. I can't trust anything anymore because they don't take out raids or whatever. So it's like your average viewership 14, 15, 16, 17, 150, and then whatever. So but that was a super memorable one. And goodness, I'm trying to think of a third most memorable one. We had some really good Breath of the Wild streams. Gosh, another top 3. I don't have don't know if I have a third one that I can think
That
back
is
to
totally
specifically.
fun.
Like I have games in my head. You
Sure.
know, I have games that I really enjoyed playing. So how about this? No, a very memorable one. The final stream I did of Super Mario Odyssey.
Mm.
Uh, because it was the first time I played Darker Side in Super Mario Odyssey,
Ooh.
and it was really, really hard. And for some reason, I got very introspective at the end when we finally beat it, and we got all 999 moons. And I was explaining how, like, you know what, chat, this is just proof that if you persevere, you know, no matter what it is, and we had people in the chat looking for jobs, and we had
Mm.
all kind of different stuff. Like, if you persevere, good things just might happen.
Mm.
And I remember saying, you know, having a very little introspective ending to that
I
one. So
love
yeah,
that.
it'll be the 24-hour stream, the Daltouche raid, and then the Mario Odyssey stream.
I
The end
love
of it.
that. That's so good. All right, so the interview has TBH has gone a little longer than I had planned, but I love that. I love that because I think we had some good combos. But we have some Q and A's, so it's going to be. Hopefully, we can do this sort of rapid fire if you're okay with that.
I have several. The ones in Discord, I am very prepared to answer quickly.
Sweet.
If you
Okay.
have, if you have any of those
So
too.
yes. So the first one that I have for you, and it should also appear on the screen. If wait, which one did I choose? Yeah, this one. What game were you most excited for its release, but ultimately disappointed with when you got to play it, and why? That was by Sassy Lady Panda.
Okay. The answer to that question is Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh,
I Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 1 were big parts of my childhood. It took 13 years for Kingdom Hearts 3 to come out. I was very excited for it to come out, and it's not because the game is bad. It just wasn't as big as I thought it would be. And it just turns out that I wasn't as interested. Like my
mm,
interest in that game series didn't last the 13 years like I thought it would.
that's
I
fair.
was excited for nostalgia, but when I've played it and put my hands on it, I loved it. I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't what I thought it would be.
Yeah, I have only played like not very long at the first one, so I can understand that. What is okay? Here we go. Next question. If you had to design, this is by this is by Talinus. If you had to design a D&D character based on Jet as a real person, what would his stats look like? What abilities would you assign? What?
Uh, I know that you would be a rogue,
That's fair.
um, but you'd be an extremely high charisma rogue.
Okay, I can handle that.
You would be a rogue that like you would sneak into a location,
Mm,
so you'd have very high dexterity,
thank you.
but also super high charisma that you would sneak in and not stab the evil monarch. You'd convince him to be good with
Oh.
with a persuasion roll.
Tank, stop. And Talinus asked me to come up with something for you.
Okay.
I was thinking, here's my thought. Probably a bard who has taken at least a level in ranger.
Yes,
has
yes.
multi-classed into ranger.
The bow bard.
Yeah, because I was thinking you would definitely have a bow, but with your entertainment and like you have a lot of value, or you put a lot of value in entertaining. Feel like bard has to be in there, for at
Yeah.
least a bit. I don't know how many levels and what. But I could see a bard. I mean, you sing songs. I mean, you probably only sing Adele songs, but it would inspire people and it would cheer people on. One thing that I should have mentioned before, but I mean, there are plenty of people who, even in today's chat, who have said that that you've inspired them to start streaming. I mean, Talinus had said that earlier, that he watched you and you were one of the things that one of the people who were like, oh, maybe I should start streaming. So like, very inspirational. There's some inspirational dice that you give to people just by your stream. So
I played a bard in a campaign named Strumley Bodine, and he was my favorite character I ever played.
Strumley Bodine. I love it. That is incredible. Um, Secret Life of a Nerd asks, what was your game of 2021? Game of the year.
Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Ooh.
Uh, I played a lot of Ratchet and Clank as a kid, much like I did with Kingdom Hearts, but my love for Ratchet and Clank maintained itself.
Ooh.
And I just, man, Ratchet, it was so good. It was so beautiful. They added a new character perfectly. Psychonauts 2 was great. I waited a long time for that game too. But Ratchet and Clank was just, it was beautiful. Played it, it felt great on the PlayStation 5, and it was just so good. Insomniac killing it.
I've seen some gameplay of it, and it looks super super fun. Sassy asks, "What game were you surprised to find that you really liked? Why were you hesitant to try it? What finally made you pick it up?"
Um, Apex would be one. I did not think I would enjoy a battle royale game,
Mm,
but I have learned to be addicted to that. The Resident Evil games, I was convinced to play those during a spooky time.
mm,
My first ever Tanktober, I played, I think, Resident Evil 7, and I was very surprised that I enjoyed those games
mm.
and would, or at least the first person ones. I don't know if I really like the going backwards and playing the other ones, but I should probably try it. But the Resident Evil games in general, I did find that I enjoyed. I still don't get like the people who like that's their whole personality is the Resident Evil love,
Sure,
because
sure.
I don't know if there's that much for me in them.
Yeah.
But I do like those a lot, and I enjoy playing them, even though I'm not much of a horror guy. And then probably the one that I was most surprised by is I had several people early on in the Twitch channel say like, "You really need to play Subnautica. It's really
Oh.
cool."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "I don't want to play Subnautica. That's one of those like crafty survival games, and the kind that I don't like."
Mm.
Then I played it, and I love that game.
Oh,
Like
really?
it's like because I didn't. No one told me it had a story, and then I learned like, oh, there's actually like you're supposed to do something,
Mm,
and you're supposed to like go deeper and deeper into this ocean, and there are scary things down there. And I was so surprised that I love Subnautica. I need to play Below Zero,
that's awesome.
but I was very surprised, and I love it.
That's awesome. Best Biscuits asks, "What is your favorite funny moment or memory on stream?"
I think so I have two. One of my favorite funny moments is the one time Lizzie was here live on the stream, and we played Jackbox, and we were playing that new Jackbox game that's like you have to pick from like preset words to form a sentence
Mm.
to convince to get people to say a movie, and someone wrote "It desires the mouth" in in that thing, and I was so tickled I almost died. I was so tickled by the phrase "It desires the mouth." Um, and I almost kicked myself out of the chair
What
and took
movie was that?
I have no, I don't know if it was a movie or
Oh,
it might have been a restaurant or a
oh.
place. I have no, it might have been Burger King, honestly. But it made me laugh so hard.
That
And the other
is
one,
amazing.
a non-funny one, would be the end of the 24-hour stream. I know that Square guy had just raided, so there were a lot of people in there, and it was right at the end. Talonus could see me getting tired. He saw me getting
Mm.
weak, so he came into the voice call, and Talonus
Oh,
talked me through the end of the stream. Him and Soul Creek were there talking me through the end of that 24-hour stream. And once we got to the end, I decided it would be funny to get on my Red Dead horse and ride out into the sunset. And so we played some very some great music that was very emotional, and I hopped on the horse and I slowly rode off into the sunset. And as soon as the 24-hour mark hit, I hit the end stream button. Everybody was so nice and so kind, and it was so much fun, and I
that
will remember that forever.
that is amazing. That was great. I got to be there for a bit of the 24-hour to play some Apex earlier on, but that
Yeah,
sounds incredible.
that's true. You got me through the night. We had to do Apex in the night so I could stay awake.
It's true. It's true. Let's see. Next question is from Sassy again. So we know you enjoy the occasional video game, but do you also enjoy other games? For example, board games, sports, etc. What are your favorites?
I very much like D&D. We have got the D&D podcast. Very much love Dungeons and Dragons. I love to play a character. I like to DM as well, very much. But I do like to do that. My brothers got me into playing Magic the Gathering a little bit last year. I haven't got to play a
Ooh.
lot, but I very much like playing Magic the Gathering. I only have one deck. It's a white soldier deck. And I've been able to very accidentally and haphazardly beat some people because
Nice.
like, you get beginner's luck. Like, I don't really know how to play well, so nobody plays against someone thinking that they're going to play poorly.
Yeah.
So like, you make mistakes that end up winning you a game. Um, I also I'm back into going to the gym. I'm on and off in the gym.
Nice.
I learned to enjoy lifting weights in college, and I'm trying to get back into it after being on and off a little bit. But I do enjoy exercising and trying to lift heavy things if I can. And I've been known to enjoy an ultimate frisbee game.
Ooh.
Enjoyed playing soccer in high school. If I had enough people to play a pickup soccer game, that would be fun. So if we all want to meet up, play soccer, ultimate frisbee. And if there's ever a football around, I do love to toss around the old pigskin.
A man of
So
many
I kind of like a
talents.
little bit. I like a little bit of everything, really.
Yeah. If you could have any in-game character ability IRL, which ability would you choose?
In order to not use things that already exist outside of video games, like I might say I'd like to be Spider-Man or
Oh.
I'd like to be a Jedi. I think I want Jesse Faden's powers from
Oh.
Control.
Yes,
Like she has such cool telekinesis
for
powers.
sure.
I would love to have a very robust ability to, like to lift things up and move them around,
Hmm.
you know. That'd be so cool.
I love that game, and so yes, 100%. That would be. I don't know. I wonder. I don't know which of her abilities I would love more, but I mean, the telekinesis, just in and of itself, is just so good.
Yeah.
And also, what a satisfying like animation. Like all every
Oh
time
yeah.
she would like pull something, you just feel it every time. Every time.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you have a video game, movie, or TV show character that you relate with?
George Costanza, more often than not. A lot of times I love Seinfeld
Hmm.
so much, and a lot of times George has a confidence and self-esteem issue, but he also is very funny, sometimes on purpose and sometimes by accident. He's clumsy at times. He makes a lot of
Hmm.
mistakes, uh, but he's persistently goofy. He's got good qualities that I think no one ever tells him about,
Yeah.
but not that, but people do tell me about mine, which is nice.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I look at George and like the way he gets upset about some things and the way he'll, let himself go a little too far in one point or another and then have to retract. His shortness, just general like if you look at George, anytime he takes his shirt off or anything in Seinfeld, like he's a thick, stocky dude.
Yeah.
Like, and so I can appreciate looking a little bit like George Costanza. um, but yeah, any media character, anytime anybody asks me, I think like
Hilarious.
I feel a kinship to George.
I was thinking about Seinfeld yesterday randomly, and for some reason I just had stuck in my head, these pretzels are making me thirsty.
These pretzels are making me thirsty.
And I
I'm gonna say
wasn't
it like this.
I wasn't even eating pretzels or anything. I was just like, this is in my head for some reason. Secret asks, what are you looking forward to in 2022? A trip you're planning, a book coming out, something, some important personal milestone.
you you assume I read. Just kidding. War has gotten me interested in comic books, so I'm excited to spend a full year buying multiple comic books every week
Mm.
and not having any money at the end of the year. So I'm excited about that. I would really love to go to TwitchCon this year if it happens.
Oh yeah.
Not because I think like, oh, there will be people there who want to meet me
Mm.
or anything like that, but just kind of like to go to a place that's all. I haven't been in a place that's all focused on the same thing since I've been in college, since I was in
Mm.
college. I would love to get that summer camp, like we're all here for the same purpose and we all know what each other's talking about kind of thing.
Yes.
Because I don't get that anymore in my everyday life.
Sure.
I'm the only person that I know face to face that does what I do. And so I don't have anybody, no one else is striving the way I'm striving to do things. And so it would be cool to go to a place that's all about for a weekend the thing that I want to do
Mm.
and just enjoy that atmosphere. I'm sure there'd be plenty of things that bother me there too, but
Yeah.
um, that's George Costanza for you. Let's see. I would also. Oh no! Finally, one other thing: Super Mario Strikers.
Oh
Come
yes.
June, Tank Media Games is a Mario Strikers channel. Sorry,
That's
chat.
exactly what I said. I was like, we're gonna be
Yep.
maining strikers. and that comes
Yeah.
out.
I,
So
I told Will Tank yesterday, I was like, before I've said I would like to be good at Apex,
mhm.
I would like to be good at Halo, I would like to be good at these other competitive things. I want to be the best Mario Striker.
I love that.
I no, there's no mouse and keyboard. There's no one like
Yeah.
I have an equal playing field. It is conceivable that if I work hard, I could be the best Mario Striker. And maybe that's
This is.
my calling.
I think you're there. I believe it. We should. So I talked about starting a club for my competing. You should
I'm in.
also do that. Well, I was thinking you should do that for yours, and then we should have like a tournament. We should do like a streamer tournament or something like that with our
Yes,
communities.
yes. I was also telling Will Tank yesterday that I want to be so good at Mario Strikers that people join the Tank Media Games Club for the honor of me beating them. Mario Strikers.
Amazing. I love that.
I could not be more excited about this game, Chet.
I loved the first. Well, I only played the first one. I didn't play the second one. But I'm so excited for this. So I'm glad that you
Yep.
are as well. Um, Lockie asks, do you have a game that you questioned why you bought it in the first place?
I think I bought Dream Daddy Simulator as a joke one time. Actually I think I bought it because I thought like, oh, this would be like a fun Valentine's Day thing, and then I realized that you're a daddy looking for a daddy in that game, and I was like, I don't think I had the appropriate point of view to play this game
Fair.
well, and maybe that's on me, and that's fine or whatever. But I felt like I felt like putting myself into that mindset would have been difficult.
Yeah.
And then I also thought like there are times whenever you do something as a joke, but the longer they go, it's just not as funny anymore.
Sure.
Cuz like, if you
That's
don't
all of my
finish Dream
streams.
Daddy Simulator, you got to go finish it. So either I'm by myself or on stream like 3 days later still playing Dream Daddy Simulator. And so I never played it. So I guess I know why I bought that one, but I changed the question to was there a game you bought for a funny reason?
Yeah, no, I like that. Secret asked today in chat, what is your guilty pleasure TV show?
Guilty pleasure TV show? Guilty pleasure. Sometimes when I'm feeling low, I like to turn on Winnie the Pooh on Disney Plus.
Oh, that's great.
And that feels guilty not in a bad way.
No,
But
for
just
sure.
like I don't know if I want anyone thinking like he's consoling himself with Winnie the Pooh. But I like just for nostalgia
Yeah, totally.
and for, I love Winnie the Pooh. He's wise.
Mm-hmm.
Winnie Pooh is wise. And I enjoy the things that he says. He's so nice. Like you can't be mad at. He's so pure. You can't be mad at Winnie the Pooh. You can't write a story about Winnie the Pooh where he's you can write stories where like, oh, someone did something wrong and now they have to fix it. Like he didn't do anything wrong. Pooh never did anything wrong.
You should start that on Reddit. Pooh did nothing wrong. I grew up watching Winnie the Pooh. I was a Piglet main for sure. So Piglet for some reason.
You're a Piglet main?
A Piglet main, yeah.
Jet, we're made for this friendship. Dude.
I know. There was something about Piglet that I always related to for some reason. I think it was the I don't know, the inability to speak sometimes.
I was about to say you don't strike me as like timid and scared and in constant need of reassurance.
No, but I vividly remember the scene where where do they live? The something acre wood. What is it?
100 Acre Wood.
100. I was like 7? That doesn't make sense.
Too small.
That's not very large. The 100 Acre Wood, where it's getting flooded, I think, and Piglet is stuck in his house, and he's like on a stool, and he's writing a note for someone to come get him, and he's like, even stuttering in the note, he's like, please, please, or something like that. And I just remember like, I don't know why, but I feel this. So maybe related. But last question from Secret. Tank Q and Jet Q, if you were an animated character, what would your signature outfit be? So I suppose like Doug Funny always wears the same thing every time,
Yeah.
the green vest, white shirt, whatever. What would be your like signature outfit?
I would think a hoodie. I love cold weather, so a
Mm.
hoodie or a jacket, maybe like a short sleeve T-shirt with a jacket open in the front, some jeans, and I have these gray Adidas tennis shoes. I'm replacing them now with some cool Nike high tops I got for Christmas.
Mm.
But I've been wearing the same like gray Adidas tennis shoes for a long time, just like flat sneakers. And I feel fun and powerful when I'm just wearing like a muted colored shirt and jacket, just casual, nothing special. Some jeans and some tennis shoes, some socks,
I
some
hear
fun
that.
socks.
I hear that. I feel like I'm sort of living already my cartoon a signature life because I only have so many clothes, so I wear them very frequently. But I think it would be something like probably a hoodie, but one with a front pocket. I like
Yeah.
enclosed hoodies so that I can precisely exactly that. I like to be able to hold stuff in there. It's put my phone in there, etc. Um,
It's advertising for you now.
yeah, you're just turning into a model now. Um, and then probably a headband. I mean, I wear
Yeah.
if I have to walk outside, I wear jeans. If not, I'm in sweatpants. So it just doesn't, I live very simply when it comes to that. So I think it'd just be something like that. Unless we're being super cool, and in which case I would be wearing like a dope bomber jacket with like a jetpack, probably maybe like
Oh yeah.
one of those like cyberpunk like headsets just over one eye. That would be kind of cool.
Oh, we're going on a mission. So yeah, I don't know what my action wear would be.
Yeah, we need. It depends on what the setting is. Are we? Yeah. Do I
Yeah.
need action clothes or not?
Action clothes, I'm definitely wearing boots. Maybe some utility pants, something with a hood. Um, something with a hood and a ball cap, like a mesh back ball
Oh yeah,
cap,
yeah, yeah.
and then sunglasses instead of my regular glasses.
Ooh, that's how they know you're serious for that.
And then a single glove
Fingerless.
for the hand I use. It's got fingers. The fingers are the
Okay.
most important part for whenever I pull back my
True.
bow. Yeah.
Very good.
Also some broad point arrows for killing.
So if there are any fan artists out there, you're welcome to draw us as that.
I've been trying to tease artists into drawing crap of me for so long, and that's another thing that I'm looking forward to if the channel ever grows bigger, is whenever I just say like, man, it'd be really cool if I was like in a Titanfall Titan in a picture, and then it just happens. That's
wouldn't that
big
be
time.
wouldn't that be cool, Chad? Just an idea. I
Mhm.
mean, no one go out of the way to do that, but I mean, wouldn't that be cool? Well, anyway, Tank, thank you so much for being here for the interview part. We are
course.
so everyone knows, we are going to take just a few minute break. We're going to play some Apex. I believe Tank is also going to be hopping on his stream. So if you would like to, you can follow us or open both of us up. You can there's a multi link. In fact, if you do !multi, it'll give you a thing. It should. Yeah, it does. There you go. So you can even start getting ready for that if you would like. Now,
Okay.
what we're going to do, I beat you to it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna play a little bit of Apex here, and then we're gonna raid into Tank's channel. So we'll be here for a few more rounds. So if you'd like to stick around for a little bit, please do, and then we'll all be going over to Tank's channel to hang out with him and his community as well. You can watch us hopefully get some dubs. We don't play Apex here all that often. We have before, like a long time ago, so I know it's not exactly the stuff that we not the cozy. It's not super cozy, but we can make it cozy. I think we can make a battle royale shooter slugfest cozy. I think just with the right.
Jet, I've put hammers in your chat because I'm gonna take over for 1 minute and 30 seconds
Okay.
of this interview. I would like the opportunity, first of all, to thank Jet for letting me be on his show and for obviously talk way longer than I think he wanted me to talk
No,
originally. We've
it's
talked,
not that I didn't want you to talk this much. It's
of
more I'm
course,
like I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I know it's
of course.
getting yeah, sure.
I'm just saying, I very much appreciate being here. Jet is a close friend of mine. I'm very grateful for our friendship, and also he's so entertaining. He's got such a great looking stream. You guys, you get B Gifter, you get the fist bump. I was telling him last night that there is no more perfect thing on Twitch for raids than Jet's fist bump. Jet is Jet is a quality man and streamer and entertainer, and we are all lucky to have him.
Oh
Darn
my
it.
gosh. Well, thank you, Tank. I appreciate that. It means a lot. It means a lot
You're-
coming from you.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. We're trying. We're trying here. So, but I'm grateful for you taking your time to answer these questions, answer the chat's questions, and also just just being here with us. I've appreciated all the times we played Apex, and I knew when I was thinking about the Jet Wave, I knew that I wanted to have you on here. So I'm glad that we were finally able to do that. I took a a little hiatus from doing these, but hopefully we'll be back now with more of them in the future. But before we switch over to the game, we're gonna take just a couple minute break. So please, everyone, stick around. Before we do that, Sassy is right. We should do a fist bump together. So we should go ahead and do that. So I want you to get ready, because we're gonna have Tank join us in punching the screen. So switching over now. Chat,
And I'm punching
friends, you will in a second. It will count down. Tank, everybody, thank you so much for being here. If you guys would like to punch your screen, go ahead and do so on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Wha-bam. Perfect. Lovely. So thank you, everyone, for being here, hanging out with us. I hope you have enjoyed the stream and the interview. Thanks for everyone for submitting questions and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to just take a few minute break. Tank is going to start his stream. We'll come back with Apex. We're going to play a few rounds, and then we'll raid into Tank. So please stick around for that so we can support our buddy as well over on his stream. So thank you, everyone. We will be right back, and I will see you here in a few minutes. BRB. Hello. Can you hear me, Tank? Hello? Tank? I can hear you. Tank, can you hear me? Wait, you talk. Why can't I hear you? Oh no! Hello? Yeah. Uh-oh. Wait, where did you go? Why? Hold on. What if I'm over here? Tank? Is this... No, it's not muted. Wait, hold on. Weird. Weird. What just happened? Oh, also... No, you guys can hear that. Sorry. How is it that this was... Tank? This was... oh, well, you can see the chat. How is this working a second ago and then not working? Isn't it wonderful that... Isn't it wonderful that we have tech issues sometimes? This is Gaming in action, everybody. Streaming, we're the things we were just talking about. Here's what we're gonna do. I want everyone. We're showing you streamer problems live. This is an exercise. It's really all an exercise. Why we could hear you throughout the interview. Wait, no. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Everyone, I want you to sit tight for like 5 seconds. Okay, in like 30 seconds, I want you to refresh your page. I want you to refresh your page in like 30 seconds, okay? I believe in you. You can do this. Don't let me down. All right. Hold on 1 second. BRB.